Do you say Akiba or Akiba?
I say Akiba. Is that wrong or right?
I don't know.
No, that is correct.
Okay.
You said Akiba, and I was just like,
Oh, did I say Akiba?
You did say
Oops.
I was like Seto Kaiba?
right? Exactly.
Like Mokuba's big brother?
Shout out to Mokuba.
Big
Actually,
brother.
I haven't watched most of Yu-Gi-Oh! Since like... When was the last time I watched Yu-Gi-Oh? I
Yeah.
never watched any of the Dice Yu-Gi-Oh!
I like Dungeon Dice.
I never watched any of the Yu-Gi-Oh! With that guy with the red jacket. Is that also Dungeon Dice?
My bad. I remember the dice more than I do the actual.
Right. Me not remembering.
It's not. You're not talking about a
really.
season, right? You're talking about an actual like its own.
Yeah, there's
thing.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Like GX.
Yeah, like there's several different Yu-Gi-Oh series.
Oh really?
Right.
I knew the one that was like
See,
when I
With
was in middle
Weeble?
school.
the original one.
The original. I
And
don't know what they
And
call it.
Exodia.
now.
Just
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh. Dual Masters, I think.
Yeah, Dual Masters.
I think is
Because
that
there was
one.
a game that they had dice involved. It was where they played with Bakura.
Yes.
Oh,
That's what.
is that Dungeon Dice Monsters? Would that become Dungeon Dice
Yeah,
Monsters?
that became Dungeon Dice Monsters.
Oh really?
Yes.
Okay, because that was his own game that he was like, I am the master of this game. You
Yeah.
cannot defeat me.
Well, the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga was like, wasn't it not supposed to be just the card game? It was going to be like multiple games.
Yeah,
It was multiple.
It taught games from around the world, which was really cool.
Right.
Like they referenced that
They're
old
like,
one.
But we make money if it's a trading card game,
It's true.
Print money.
right?
It's true. Yeah, they taught solitaire. They taught the spider, deadly spider in the shoe, and put your
Right.
hand in.
And people hella died in that thing. It was
Yeah.
practically a horror manga.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I remember Yugi like electrocuted some dude, and I was like, damn, that's crazy.
yeah, you're right. You're like, people can survive that? Wow, they just lose their soul?
Anyway, we opened up talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Welcome to episode 17 of the JSB Animecast. It's your host, Asher. Of course, joined by Rob
Hi.
and Jenny,
Hello.
the usual suspects. Here for episode
Sus.
17, the Akiba Maid War episode.
Not a Kai.
Not a Kaiba.
Which is, by the way, why we started talking about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Shoutouts to Mokuba.
Shoutouts to Mokuba. But yeah, aside from Yu-Gi-Oh!, what have y'all been up to before we get into Akiba Maid War, which I had mentioned to both of you already. I'm super excited to talk about. So excited. But let's get to the classics first. Anime related things, non-anime related things, interesting things that you've been up to since we last talked.
So I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Have you really been?
No.
Well, didn't Drew win
Yeah, Drew actually won a tournament last week or so.
got some really expensive cards.
Yeah, he got some good cards. Got like a really nice official play mat
Right.
from Konami or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, he did super good.
Time to thrive off of Drew's Yu-Gi-Oh money.
I'm saying, if only Konami actually put in good prize money in their Yu-Gi-Oh events.
Shake my damn hand.
It is actually one of, I think, the worst card games to play if you're trying to win money.
It is, especially since their cards are, for some reason, even more expensive than Magic cards.
It is
So,
also one of the most expensive ones to get into.
right.
So it makes no sense, but
Right.
shout outs to the Yu-Gi-Oh players trying to hold it down, I guess.
yeah, I guess.
I mean, you guys remember those memes of people who had an iPhone for each of their cards, and they just had a digital version of each of their cards, and that's how they played.
Yeah, they proxied it, with their phones, which is wild that you have to do that sometimes. So silly.
Yeah, it is.
But anyway, wasn't actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
No, I wasn't. Yu-Gi-Oh intimidates me, actually. Because I originally I really liked the original card game. Right?
Oh, it's a completely different monster now.
Completely different.
People are taking 30-minute turns.
Yeah, and then you just lose.
And then you just lose, and you're like, wow, I didn't get to play. I watched
and I
you.
don't understand how any of this happened.
Yeah, I watched you do the thing, and I'm like,
it's a one-player game.
we're having fun. Which, if someone could explain to me, the new one. No, actually, you know what? I don't want to hear from you.
You don't,
I don't want to catch the smoke.
No.
Actually, I don't want to catch the smoke.
Don't do it.
As a Magic player, I'm completely perfect living in my own ignorance.
There you go. Stay over there. Stay in your lane.
I almost stepped on a mine there.
Enjoy.
I wasn't ready for
that.
I will stay in my lane. Respect to y'all.
Because that's how
you can read.
That's how I felt about Magic. Because I think it's intimidating because how much there is into it. And there's it's people that ask you, what one do you play? And I'm like,
here's my opinion about Magic, though. Magic is like chess in that the rules, there aren't a lot of rules, but the ways you could play it is vast. And I think that's the intimidating part.
Chess is all rules.
But the ways you can play chess is vast. Does that make sense?
I mean, you could start with anything.
There's a lot of play styles.
Yeah,
right.
There's a lot of play styles.
Yeah, like you have.
But I think Magic
you have like these core rules around chess, right? Like this piece can do this piece can do that,
right?
Right. But like how each person uses those pieces is very different. Like there's a bunch of different.
Do I need to watch a chess anime now because I'm like?
I got a couple in the chamber. You want?
Oh man, I might need to borrow one to learn.
Yeah.
Well,
we can get in there.
And this is an opinion thing. I feel like a lot of the reason that like Magic has thrived so well is that its basic concepts are actually simple, but the complexity of the game lies in its like the vast amount of combination of these pieces. Red at the end of the day is always going to behave like red. Blue is always going to behave like blue. They've never strayed from that.
But it's also intimidating because there's a lot.
Because there's a lot.
There's a lot.
But one could say that there are 50 openings in chess. Do you know 50 openings in chess?
You start with a pawn and you move it forward. It's like the only thing I know.
You can move with the knight. See, so like now I don't want to get into the whole chess thing. Rob knows there was 1 month where I went giga hard on chess.
I remember when Aaron made that the thing he chose for I think one of your charity clash events, didn't he?
No, that was me.
That was you? Oh, you won that one? Okay.
I didn't win. They had better chess players.
Oh dang! Oh man!
And I got fatigue at the end because I ended up having to play 4 games straight.
But we had some good matches.
I loved that charity clash. That was one of my favorite charity clashes.
Yeah.
You and Jess that was the longest game without a single piece getting taken. Like, it was like they took forever, and then eventually Rob stalled her out, and I was like,
won by timeout.
I didn't think we were gonna get a timeout game, but that's awesome that we did. Yeah, it was a classic.
It's really funny because anybody that knows me from like playing fighting games, I'm a very defensive player. Mm-hmm. I'm not like I don't care if I will run out the time. I will time you out. Right. So I brought that to chess, and it was very funny.
Yeah,
like, people that watch it was like, oh, this is very much a Rob thing.
I was like, I should have known.
I mean, you're a really patient demeanor. I don't know whether you think you're a patient person or not, but you have a patient demeanor, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Me, like, this doesn't bother me at all. I will be here all day.
I think it is hard to, at least for me, I can't speak for the chess grandmasters out there who are infinitely better than me. But playing like that many games straight took a toll on my because I'm an offensive oriented player, took a toll on my openings and just being able to see the entire board.
It's been exhausting.
Yeah, at the tail end I was like, how do I set up to kill? I can't. I was getting delirious, but it was a fun kind of delirious.
Right.
It was wow, I'm playing chess.
Yeah.
Well, we have derailed from what you were talking
about.
Oh,
absolutely. Sorry. Absolutely.
I was like, how did we get on chess?
how did we get here?
All right.
So I finished watching Madoka Magica, rewatching.
With Drew, right?
With Drew, yeah.
Still peak?
I still think it's pretty peak.
Yeah.
That Madoka Magica is one that comes up a lot of times where it is some people's favorite anime of all time.
Right.
It is sometimes in that discussion of is this one of the best of all time? And it's been a little while since I've rewatched it. Mm-hmm. I think it's been 7 years since I've rewatched it. Mm-hmm. And I will still walk away saying this is one of the best shows I think I've ever watched.
Right.
And Drew was very hesitant to watch this show for a very long time because he's someone that he doesn't deal with gore and stuff very hardcore things easily.
Could he handle Akiba Maid War?
Maybe because it's very comical, right. So he could probably do that, but he can't do Made in Abyss.
No.
Right. And the only thing he knew about Madoka Magica was Mommy's death scene.
Right.
Right. and from that alone, he was like, oh, this is probably not going to be for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He just saw that. It's like a character that just gets, her head bit off.
Right.
And he's like, oh, this is going to be too much. And I was like, no, I think it's not as bad as you think it is. Right.
No.
So over time, like, I'm like prepping him for this show, and I'm like, okay, finally, it's time.
Yeah, you planted the seed.
I planted the seeds.
And now it's time to harvest the fruit.
Now it's time. And he walked away from it being like, yo, this is really good. Like, this is pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. It has like a super unique art style to it. Like, this is something that like only Shaft, the animation studio, does. Like, they have like some insane imagery and backgrounds and stuff. And it's funny because like Madoka Magica, like they redrew Madoka Magica like 3 times. Where it's like the TV, the version that aired on TV, like had different backgrounds, right? And then when they did the Blu-ray version, they were like, we can one-up this. And they just went ham on the backgrounds for the Blu-ray. Yeah. And then they did the movie versions, and they're just like, but what if we went one step further? Right. And they just like completely redid it again.
It's always interesting to do that. I think it is. This is one of the few mediums where we seem to do that a little bit more consistently than like some other stuff, which is why I'm very excited for like the Blue Giant Blu-ray.
Yeah.
What?
Blue Giant is it's a jazz anime. It was a movie.
Oh, you're telling me it's another type of tech that's a Blu-ray adjacent. Blu-ray is releasing its new technology called Blue Giant.
No, Blue Giant
14K, let's go.
But me and Rob watched it in theaters, and I love it, but I am at times taken out of it by like the 3D animation.
Yeah.
The quality of its 3D animation.
The CG and is pretty stiff at times.
It's stiff at times, although the final sequence blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're like, we have to take a hit here and all these other stiff like sequences in order to make the last 15 minutes perfect.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm in fucking tears. And then like I look back at it, I'm like, man, some of those moments took me out of it early on because like it's a little stiff. But they mentioned like for the Blu-ray release, they're gonna touch it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious how far they took it. Right.
It's fascinating to really not hear that much backlash from like people who are like, I watched this in film or in the movie theater, and it is sacred that it retains that perfect imagery.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, but we can make it better on Blu-ray release.
Right.
I feel like a lot of fans of so many things would be like, how dare you touch the original theatrical release?
For sure.
Like,
sure.
And in anime, it's just like, oh, you can do better? Great.
Do it.
Fucking do it.
Awesome. Throw some more effects in there. Like, touch up the colors. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And more power to it. That's sweet. That's really interesting to hear with Madoka. I had no idea.
Yeah. And I don't even think you can even see like the original TV airing version of it anymore, because what's on Crunchyroll and what was on Netflix was like the Blu-ray version.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
So you'd have to like really do some digging, but it's something that's cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that show is great. I want to rewatch the movie Rebellion.
Let me know when you watch that because I actually haven't seen it.
I will. I think I'm going to do like a group watch for that. Now that Drew is finished, I'm like, okay, I want to rewatch it. You haven't seen it.
Yep.
Like, we'll plan the whole thing for it.
I want to get geared up for, and I'm going to mispronounce this. Sorry. You might be able to pronounce it better. Walpurgis Night.
Yes.
How do you spell this?
WALPUR.
Go on.
It's night. We have phones.
We have phones.
We have the technology.
The German word.
Oh, Woppersniet?
That sounds right. I like that pronunciation.
Oh, Walpurgis Nacht.
Nacht.
Mm-hmm.
Walpurgis Nacht.
There we go.
Which translates to Walpurgis Night.
Yeah. It's a vol. They don't pronounce.
Oh right, vol. I should know this because of Kurt Wagner from X-Men.
Yeah.
Anyway, very cool.
But yeah, we went to go see the Haikyuu movie, which
I'm a very happy guy.
very, very happy.
Very happy after watching that one.
It was great. It was great. I warmed myself up like with some of the other Haikyuu movies, which are just like recap movies and stuff like that.
Right.
And I was just like, man, Haikyuu is really fucking good.
They get it.
took my nephew with us, and he's never watched anything Haikyuu related, right? I just told him, like, it's volleyball anime. He's like, sure, I'll watch. And then, like...
He said, sure. He wasn't ready.
It was really funny because, like, at the beginning of the movie, like, right before the game starts, right? Yeah. There's, like, a little bit of shit talking that happens between the characters.
Right.
And he goes to me and he's just like, I thought this was volleyball, not a war. And I was like,
the riff track.
And I was like, oh, here we go.
Right.
And then, like, every time something happened, he was like, this is peak.
Yeah.
He's like, this is, I don't know how else to describe this. This is peak.
The emotional highs and lows of that game are immaculate. Mm-hmm. And there are certain aspects of it. So do you know Haikyuu?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you watched any Haikyuu?
Nope. I know that a buddy of ours in Hawaii, he named it as his favorite anime of all time. And the thing that he and I bonded over was My Hero in early stages. And Paul was super big into it then too. And when he said Haikyuu's his favorite of all time, I was like, oh, this must be really good. Yeah. But I do know it's a sports anime. I've seen some scenes from it.
I think Haikyuu is the best sports anime since Slam Dunk. Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Which is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I do not think it is close. I think Haikyuu understands what is put out on that floor. When sports is just a sport, but is also not just a sport. Like, what does it mean to compete? Why do you compete? And it is so good at it that every game played, you want to root for the other team in some way. You probably root a little bit more for the good guys, a little bit more. But it is incredible how, like, by the end of that game, I am just in tears because the antagonist lost, and I'm just like, why though? Like,
what's good about that game in particular is, like, the two schools are, like, rival schools, right?
Right.
But it's a very, like, healthy rivalry.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not antagonistic.
It's not. And, like, I love what they do with, like, all the flashback sequences too, because, like, these are also two teams that have been training together a lot. They do a lot of training camps together. So, like, you see, like, some characters have taught the others, like, how to block better.
It's so good
in that game, and it's just like they acknowledge each other, just like, I see what you did.
So this movie is called Haikyuu: The Battle at the Dumpster. And the reason it is called that is because the antagonist team is Nekoma High, when their mascot is cats. Their entire thing is like cats. A lot of the characters, very cat-like designs. Their coach is the smiling cat. He's like a very old guy, and he's just always smiling. He's always got his eyes closed. And I love him. Oh my God, I love that guy. And then our main characters team is the Karasano High. They're the crows. And so, like, the reason their rivalry has been dubbed the Battle at the Dumpster is because, like, these animals are scavengers, like, around trash cans.
Yep.
And man, the imagery they lean into the imagery really hard, but it, like, makes the moments very emotional. It's really cool how they repainted the movie starts. This isn't spoilers because if you've watched the anime, you've seen this scene. They take a scene that was in the show anime and they flash it back for the beginning of the movie, but they up the animation because the show has changed animation styles since then. So it looks nicer. They have, like, more interesting, like, exposure and lighting. But then they really emphasize, like, a cat in the background and a crow in the background sitting there because it's a meeting between, like, the two major players of each team. One of them is, like, this gamer kid. He's, like, just playing on his thing. He's the cat character. And he behaves like a cat, or, like, that's the cool thing is that all the characters in Nekoma are pretty cat-like, but they're cat-like in different ways. And he's definitely the cat that, like, doesn't want anything to do with you. He's definitely like, please let me mind my own business. I'm lazy.
He's our cat.
Yeah.
he's Maya.
He is Maya. And then Hinata, the main character, pretty standard shonen protag, very excitable, very, like, hyped up. He shows up, and it's fun seeing, like, the guy is, like, playing his games on his phone, the cat guy. Kenma, yeah. And there's cat in the background who's sleeping. And then a crow, like, lands nearby, and then Hinata shows up. And Hinata's like, do you play volleyball? You know, like, and they had never met each other before. And at first Ken was kind of like standoffish, like, who are you? Why are you like talking to me? But then he's like slowly warms up. And it is interesting how like throughout the game, like that is kind of, it's not tested, but rather I'm trying to find like the words for it. Like the stakes of this game are high because of their friendship. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not even like strictly a rivalry, but it's like, what did they promise to each other?
Yeah.
And did the good that they see in each other, is it there? And can you lay it out on the court? Mm-hmm. Oh man, boy, do they lay it out. When there is something that is not in the manga, or at least I could tell it wasn't in the manga, that they do for the movie that is explicitly like, we can animate this scene. Mm-hmm. Do the most interesting thing possible you can do with it. It's the first person.
I was about to say this must be the first person
right
view.
And it is unlike anything I've ever seen.
I was just like,
it blew my mind.
It's crazy.
And like,
well, my nephew's like, this is me.
Yeah, exactly. And only in like film can you evoke like putting yourself in that situation and then feeling everything on the court. The thrill, the fear, the like sheer fear of like feeling helpless because I'm not good enough. Like I was like, this is a high school volleyball game and I'm bawling my eyes out right now. I'm thrilled.
It's great. It's crazy. Like this isn't even like the championship game, right? This is just like round 2 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because they bring up the rivalry. It is a classic school rivalry, but that's almost like they don't talk about it as much as I thought they would. Mm-hmm. It really doesn't matter much to these kids because they didn't live when the rivalry formed.
Right.
So their stakes within the rivalry are less about that and more about how do we know each other?
Right.
Mm-hmm. How is our friendship?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter that like we there's a situation where they are friends the same way, even if their school didn't have that rivalry.
Right. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
You know? But the rivalry exists and it means something to others.
Yes.
There's a specific scene that I think of when like one of the older people who remembered the old rivalry like does a thing and it breaks another dam in my eye holes. Like I'm just like, they do not talk about this at all and they don't need to say a single thing. Mm-hmm. It is all shown, not spoken. Mm-hmm. And just showing me the visual of it is enough to just like break the dam, you know? Like, and I'm just like, I can't believe we had 2 years in a row that we had like peak sports movies, like sports anime movies.
Yeah.
And of course it's Slam Dunk and Haikyuu. So it's like, I don't know. And
how dare you not put Uma Musume?
I guess that counts. We haven't
seen it yet.
But we also haven't seen that. Yeah, that movie isn't out. So maybe
it just came out in Japan.
Maybe we're 3 for 3. We could be 3 for 3.
I hope so for you guys. I know how much you guys loved Uma Musume.
Yeah. But I digress. Sorry, I kind of hijacked that. Because I feel like so passionate
that was
about
the
it.
pass to Asher.
I was so moved by that movie.
It was great. It was fantastic.
And I love. So is your nephew gonna watch all of it now?
Probably. If not watch all of it, he's definitely gonna like watch all the games. I'm sure.
And it wasn't just you that was, or your nephew that was a newcomer. Derek. We also took Derek. Derek had never seen anything Haikyuu. I gave him a little primer of like leading up to the game, and then he watched the game and he was like, "Wow, incredible."
I can see him getting into something like that because he's competitive.
So
he understands that thrill.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else?
No, that's about it. Like I'm still working my way through Dungeon Meshi.
Hell yeah.
That show's still great.
Mm-hmm.
Still excellent. I think I'm on episode like 13 or 14 right now. Mm-hmm.
I did love your comment that it's made an abyss for normies.
Yeah. I saw somebody tweet that, and I was just like, "Oh, that's really funny." And as I watch it, I'm just like, "There's some similarities."
Yeah.
Like, we're going down this hole. As you get further down, it's worse and worse. There's some strange similarities between the two.
Yes.
And I'm just like,
the stakes aren't as high, so it's like a little
weird
bit
veneer
easy.
of comedy thrown over it.
Yeah, there's a lot more comedy on top of it. Right. It's not as like gruesome in the way that Made in Abyss is.
There are moments.
There are moments.
There are definitely
where it catches you and you're just like, oh. But it's easier for like, I guess, normies to like digest it.
Right.
Would be to see like, you know, Rico snap like her arm in place and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's
part of it also helps with the trigger, like style.
The trigger animation stuff too works like,
which like in hindsight, I remember when the show first came out, I was like, what an interesting like company to take this on. Mm-hmm. And it's like, now that we're that many episodes in, it's like, this works.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's quickly climbing up to be like one of my favorite shows I've seen in a while.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right, Jenny, what have you been up to?
I also binged on Dungeon Meshi. And also enjoying that journey that it takes you through.
Yeah.
I accidentally read a couple of spoilers, but I don't think it's going to ruin my watching experience, which is good.
Right.
It does kind of show that it's not a food anime, which we already knew pretty quickly. Like once after the first few episodes, you're like, it's not just about the food. Not like campfire cooking or shokugeki. It is its own story. The food is just kind of there.
Right.
As like a catalyst for everything else to come. Been watching One Piece a little bit over Paul's shoulder. He's definitely like more steady with it, but he does the English dub, and I get to listen to it while I'm working. So I am like aware of like story and characters and stuff. And he just got to, we just met Boa Hancock.
My favorite character. I love Boa.
Good old Boa. And the land of the Amazons.
Let me see what else. Been preparing a lot for our upcoming events in June.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking that later on. But that's a lot of work for sure. And then other than that, started reading Berserk.
Ooh.
Guts, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this was on the horizon. How far have you
I'm
gone?
on I read through chapter 9.
Do you like it?
I do. It's like 384 chapters and I'm on 9.
It's one of the greats.
It is. I can see why.
Yeah.
It is another one kind of reminding me of Solo Leveling a little bit because of how difficult it is to follow the action through printed manga pages.
Right.
And so like to try and like translate that mentally into like what just happened, it's really hard. Same thing with Solo Leveling's manhwa. I was like, I am lost on what just happened.
Yeah.
Like I know something epic just happened. I see the aftermath, but I don't know what happened in between. It's a blur.
Right.
Same thing with Berserk. Also, it's older, so the lines are very harsh. But I know Phil was the reason actually I started reading it because he said that
he loves Berserk.
He does. And he says he thinks I would like it too. And I had another friend who actually got a tattoo. His first tattoo was Berserk, and it was a big piece. So this guy committed.
Berserk is also everywhere. So like once you read and consume Berserk, you can't not see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Elden Ring, all the Souls games really.
Yeah.
Oh, really.
A lot of things take their inspirations from Berserk. Like it is like the foundation
Made
for
in
like
Abyss.
so much stuff.
Really?
You haven't gone to. You're 9 chapters in. Yeah, it's obvious. Like once you get to a certain point in Berserk, you're gonna be like, wow, season 2 of Made in Abyss was just Berserk.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's wild.
It's a good. I can't say it's a good time because it's very dark.
Good time is an interesting term.
It is like
I know what you mean, but it's a good time.
Okay, thank you.
I understand.
Oh yeah, I love suffering.
Yeah, that's okay.
I do.
I'm enjoying cringing and feeling the pain here.
Right. Yeah.
And also a lot of the uncomfortableness, the uncomfortableness. Here, I'm trying to come up with a word.
Yeah.
The discomfort is cathartic in a weird way. Because there's bits of reprieve. It doesn't pull any punches.
I think Berserk is very good about giving you the shred of hope.
Yeah. Yes.
The will to the indomitable will of the human spirit to continue on somehow and find value in the awful. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know how it does it.
Yeah. And maybe, we keep talking about a lot of themes that kind of make me think also, I'm playing Hades. And it's that loop of you just got to fight through it,
Right.
knowing that you are going to die quite a few times.
Right.
But I'm trying to get to that 10th playthrough so I can start Hades 2.
Right.
So.
Can't wait till you do.
Yeah. I see what you
great.
mean, though, because you were like, have you won again? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
No, I beat it, Asher. You're like, no, you got to keep going.
You have to keep going. There's
Yes.
a final.
And I see it. I see it coming, and I'm like, okay, cool.
That's
So I think
great.
I'm on my like 5th successful playthrough.
Hell yeah.
So yeah,
Let's go.
it's getting a lot easier now.
Yeah.
It's nice, even with the pact of punishment.
Mhm.
It's fine. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Can't wait to hear about that. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right. My turn, I guess.
Yes. Asher, what have you been up to?
So I guess similarly, like we're all on that Dungeon Meshi train. I picked it back up because
Okay.
I know it's like ending its second core soon.
Mhm.
So I want to, finish that second core.
Mhm.
So about same. I think I watched 2 episodes in the second core. So I'm about where you are.
Okay. That's the same place.
And then I'm like, oh great, I'm watching this again. It's great. Cool. Continue watching greatness. I did start Urusei Yatsura,
Ooh, okay.
and it is something very casual, and it is insanely casual, easy watch. Have you ever heard of Urusei Yatsura? It's one of the all-time classics. It, Ranma One Half?
Yeah.
Okay, same mangaka,
Okay.
and same mangaka as Inuyasha.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I didn't know that.
And Urusei Yatsura, I think, is their first major one.
That sounds correct.
What's
Yeah.
it? I guess about.
All
Without
right.
any
This is going to be
spoilers.
very silly.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be very silly.
I mean, if you think about the premise of both of those you just named,
yeah, exactly.
also very silly.
So essentially, aliens invade Earth, but they're Oni. So like it's like a sci-fi mix-up of Japanese lore, right?
Yeah.
And they're Oni, and they invade Earth, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna fuck up Earth, but we'll give you an opportunity. You have to play a game, and then if you win the game, then we won't like conquer Earth."
Mhm.
And essentially, like, I don't know how it was in the original, because this is a remake. This is a modern remake. So now they have like, I don't remember when the original was written.
I don't remember.
But this version has like cell phones and like, computers and technology and stuff like that. And so like, in the new version, they use a computer to randomize who is going to compete in this competition. And it's a high school boy, a very horny high school boy. And he has to compete against the daughter of the Oni King,
Okay.
Loom. And all he has to do in a week, it's a game of tag. He just has to grab her by the horns and, then Earth is saved. And of course she can fly. So it's like, and she can shock you with the electricity. So it's like, people are like, wow, Earth is doomed. Because he's also an idiot. It's very well established early on.
Yeah.
But he gets like motivated by this girl that he's been chasing like since the beginning of that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And she says like, if you win this game, I will marry you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so
Whoa,
he's like
straight to marriage.
he's like, I definitely gotta win. And so like,
I was thinking like dinner, lunch, maybe,
you might
coffee.
want to get to know her a little bit more.
Get married, kids.
All right.
and so he like he finds a way to win, but because he's thinking about marriage the entire time, he's yelling it. He's like, I'm gonna get married. And like, so of course, like when he grabs like Loom's horns, he wins. And then they're like having the big news conference because this is a big deal. The world's been saved. She's like, and to answer your question, yes, of course I'll marry you. So Loom is like, yeah, I'm engaged to you.
Oops.
And then the Oni King's like, hell yeah. What I approve,
Oh, no.
like, and so suddenly he's caught in like, and then of course Shinobu, the girl that he's been pining after the entire time, she's like, what a sleaze, like. Of course you would, and wacky antics ensue. Like now she lives on Earth. Loom lives on Earth, and is essentially like in his classroom. And there's all kinds of, I don't know. They keep introducing all these like very silly characters. Then one of the newest characters they introduce is this like very pretty boy. He dropped out of the sky in a parachute because his family's like giga rich and he didn't want to be late for school. Like just absolutely insane, over the top characters. But he is crushing on Loom, and our main character is crushing on Shinobu.
Right.
And so like they start to like try to do things to get each other to hook up with the other. And ultimately it is a romance, but it's like, as opposed to a lot of modern day romance comedies that are like 50-50, it's more like 90% comedy and then 10% romance.
Okay.
Like it is just, we have to crack a bajillion jokes like all the time. And then maybe at the end of episode 5, they hold hands. You know, like...
What's the ratio for Oran to comedy? Because I'm thinking that's also mostly comedy with like a little bit of...
I would put
romance.
like... Well, that one's hard because it's a harem. But like when they are slinging it with like each of the characters, it's like... I guess I would put Oran at maybe like 75.
Okay.
75 comedy.
I was thinking 80-20 when you said that. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I can agree with
get
that.
the idea. I get where you're coming from. Okay,
Right.
Cool.
And
I like
so
comedy.
Urusei is way more of a comedy. That's why it's like an easy watch for me. I can get home, cook dinner, throw an episode on, and be like, and then, this is progressing slightly.
Is it done?
The manga and the original anime are done.
Yeah.
But this current iteration, I think, is 4 seasons.
They're on 4 already?
Yeah.
Whoa.
They're booking it. Dude, it feels like it comes out every season.
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
like,
I thought you were going to be like, it's 2 seasons.
No, it's 4. So I have a lot that I can just like... That's another reason I picked it, is because of its length, that I can just like, I can comfortably come back to this, like, not have to worry about like overstimulation and stuff like that.
Palate cleanser.
Right, exactly.
True.
And it's really interesting. What's wild about what that story is that Loom was originally a one-off character. Like the Oni Princess was meant to be just like the beginning of the story, and then she was going to disappear.
Was it a popularity contest that did it? Aha.
Loom was so popular that it became the basis of the show. She is one of the most like iconic anime characters ever.
Yeah.
It's wild to think. So I don't know. Big fan. Getting to learn a little bit of like anime history, because it is like an important one, I guess. And it is also very cool that it retains its old style.
Yes.
It is somehow incredibly reminiscent of 90s anime, but it's still somehow super modern.
It's just like the way that they updated some of the stuff around it, like the colors that I used. It's just like, there was another show that was like that too very recently that I failing to think of at the moment.
When was the first iteration of Spice and Wolf?
Oh, Spice and Wolf was like mid 2000s.
Okay, so that one's not quite as far.
Not quite as back.
I know Hunter x Hunter's original.
Yeah,
the modern Hunter x Hunter is very clear. Like this is 90s and this is modern anime.
It's cool when they can pull that off,
right?
Because you look at it and like for someone like me, there's like a nostalgia there.
Yes,
that's just like, oh, this is kind of comforting.
Well, I guess Trigun's another example. Like, I mean, they don't necessarily retain the 90s look, but they're like, oh, this can be its own thing in this way.
Yes.
There's so many different approaches, and I think that's like really interesting. Then other than that, Haikyuu, and then of course more 100 Girlfriends. Read more of that. Boy. It's great. All
right. How many girlfriends are we at now?
I think we're at 27.
Jesus Christ.
You actually haven't made that much of a jump since the last time we spoke.
No, I'm trying to slow it down because I know I'm about to catch up.
Gotcha.
So I'm like, I don't want to run out. I'm riding its fumes.
Any more wrong way to use healing magic?
No, because I typically only watch that with Jess when we're playing like Stardew.
Okay.
And just we haven't had the time, and we also missed like the last session of Death Note. But we're getting near the end of Death Note, so that should be fun. But I'm trying to think if there's anything on the horizon that I'm thinking of watching aside from whatever Jenny picks.
What you gonna pick?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it.
And then you've also been playing for Charity Clash.
Yes, I am planning for the Charity Clash. I'll bring that up at the end.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that at the end because that'll be fun. All right, so we'll take a break, and then when we get back, it's time to talk about Akiba Maid War. Sweet.
Oh, there is one thing actually.
What?
That I thought was cool. Whoa, jumping in. Hang on. Before we go on break, we can't go yet.
Record scratch.
They announced that the Attack on Titan stage is happening in the U.S.
Oh,
we're getting a
snap.
U.S. tour.
Oh wait, it's a tour? I thought.
No, it's just one.
Okay, I was gonna say. I thought it was just in New York.
They're just coming to the U.S. to do one more show for it.
Right.
I immediately got tickets for it.
Oh, okay.
When?
It's October 11th, I believe it is.
That's very cool.
I was like, I can't miss this opportunity for it.
Yeah.
The reviews for it have been like, this is one of the best shows that has been done, and I was just like, oh shit, I gotta go.
That's so tight.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's been a while. The last stage show I got to see was the Sailor Moon one a couple of years ago before COVID.
And that was awesome.
That rocked. So we don't get those very often here in the States.
Nope.
But like, man, those shows go hard.
Yeah,
so
you got to take the opportunity.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Very much so.
Hell yeah.
Future report on that.
Okay, look forward to it.
Yeah.
Halloween season. Scary time.
Ooh, it is spooky season.
Are you afraid of Titans?
Horribly afraid of Titans.
My new isekai. Are you afraid of Titans?
Oh, Lord.
All right, we'll be right back. So, two things, classic Asher fashion. I forgot to turn on mic audio, so I went through an entire take without actually saying anything. That was crazy. And then also, we ran out of battery when I was recording in Nakama. So, that's great. I was able to get this recorded with Jenny and Rob. So, my bad, y'all. Here I am, taking on the punishment of my sins, but here to let you know about some of Nakama's events. So, perfect timing by me. On the 11th, they have the Maid Cafe game night. If any of this episode has gotten you interested with Akiba Maid War, go on, check it out. Nakama, June 11th. Then we also have an Attack on Titan sake tasting. It's walk-in only. I know their past events have normally been like a sign-up type of steez. But here, just go ahead and mosey on in. Enjoy some really good sake. We also have the full con weekend, like Bold Matsuri. They got after parties going on Friday, Saturday, Sunday wrap up. Might be there one of the nights. Who knows? Come out, enjoy. We're also doing a panel at Bold Matsuri, so if you show up, that'd be great. That'd be super rad. Come say hi. And then we also have the Poke Rave on the 29th. That's at the end of the month. They have a special guest, the Sailor Scouts. I know they do like a lot of stuff with Nakama, and then of course the Mailer Scouts. So yeah, come check out Nakama. Special shout outs to them again. They're always like accommodating when we want to like record over there. It's super great, super chill. And we'll probably see you guys there. All right, bye-bye. Yeah, it would be kind of funny. It won't be funny when I review the footage and then I'm like,
our technical difficulties screen again.
I'm really dumb.
When I told Paul that we're putting that on the drawstring bags, the technical difficulty sign, he was like, "It's perfect."
Genius.
It's like our shirts all saying "starting soon."
yeah, exactly. Very good.
Like that's our life, guys.
It's a good bit.
This is our life now.
All right, now we get to talk about Akiba Maid War. Akiba, where the fuck do I want to start with this?
Well, Asher, normally how we start this is
oh yeah,
what made you pick Akiba Maid War?
I wanted to pick what?
I was waiting for you to actually say, I want to do it differently this time. I was gonna go,
oh yeah,
because you said, well,
nope, got y'all. I want to pick something that like was polarizing. So it is considered one of the more polarizing anime.
Is it?
It is.
Huh.
It is.
That means like the feelings about it are total opposites?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, it's an OVA, so it doesn't have the... We have to approach it differently. It cannot be simply like, oh, the translation from page to screen was immaculate, you know?
Because there's no source material.
Because there is no source material. And so that in and of itself is its, like, own thing, because its intent is different, as opposed to, like, most anime. And I was curious as to whether or not it was just a joke, or if there was more to it. And then I also want to pick one that I believed we hadn't watched. And you had watched a little.
Yeah, like an episode or
but
two.
really not enough.
No.
And I'd seen
So-
a clip, oddly enough.
Right. And so, yeah, in that regard, I think I succeeded.
You did. I think so.
Correct.
So, how familiar are either of you with maid cafe culture? Let's start with Jay.
Moderately?
Moderately?
Yeah. I am aware of the story and history behind him. And this is before watching Maid Wars. Did a maid cafe experience last year.
Did you like it?
Yeah. It was cute. But it definitely was like an experience, not the actual one in Japan
Right.
or anything like that. It was like people here
Right.
mirroring their idea of the maid cafe experience.
Right.
So that's different for sure. But I do know about like what the experience typically is like, and appreciated some of the references that I did recognize from the experiences and the history that I know of maid cafes in Akiba Maid War.
Okay. What about you, Rob?
I'm familiar of, maid cafes and the ongoings of them. Like it's portrayed in a lot of different media.
It is.
Right? So like I've seen it around in a bunch of different, ways. I've never done like a deep dive into like the history of maid cafes, right? But like there are some things that like you hear like, okay, some of them are like fronts for like some Yakuza business here and there, right? Like I'm aware of that stuff. I've never done deep research into it, but like I'm generally familiar with like the ongoings of maid cafes and all of that stuff. Yeah.
I think very similar. It's like they're the next step before like an escort or a strip club.
Right.
But they're supposed to be milder and happier or prettier or cleaner.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they are.
Right.
And
Exactly.
there's some exquisite strip clubs that are actually like top tier and high quality. $1,000 entry fee,
Shout out to the best burger in Jacksonville, Wacko's.
We've reached that
Not
level.
sponsored. Not sponsored.
Maybe soon.
Wacko's. Our line's up.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, what's it called? Okay. What about Yakuza films or mobster films in general?
Films? No, not too many. Games? Yes.
Oh, okay.
You have the entire Yakuza franchise, like a Dragon franchise, which is created.
One could argue
with a deep look into like the Yakuza culture. They've done a lot of their research. They've brought in like a lot of former Yakuza members to like consult.
They did, yeah.
On a lot of the stories that goes on in that. So like if you want a pretty accessible like look into Yakuza culture, those games are perfect for that.
Its beats are incredible.
It's some of the best.
Its humor is some of the best too.
Yeah.
In a weird way, this anime is almost like a chapter.
I approached this entire anime of this is just a Yakuza sub story.
Yeah, exactly.
These games. And I'm just like, yep. That's what this is.
Yeah. And then what about you?
I didn't realize I had watched a mob war gang related thing, movie wise or any other thing, until you mentioned Kill Bill. Asked me if I'd seen Kill Bill. I was like, oh, I guess that counts.
Yeah.
True.
But I'd never seen like The Departed or Goodfellas.
Boy, howdy.
I just watched that recently for the first time.
Which one?
The Departed.
Oh, really?
Do you see similarities?
Yeah.
The entire thematic of rats.
100%.
You said they're part of Gangs of New York.
Nope, haven't seen it.
Gangs of New York.
Haven't seen Godfather.
Goodfellas. You told me you didn't watch Goodfellas, and I was like, another person I get to watch Goodfellas for the first time with. That excites me.
Yeah, so not a lot of experience before coming into this. And then after we watched like the first 2 episodes, I researched the crap out of the history of Yakuza. So probably borrowed the thesis from the game and like read it, you know.
Did you find it interesting, or were you like, this is kind of lame, or?
No, it's fantastic.
Okay.
It's kind of got a strong cowboy-ish feel to it.
There is a cowboy energy to it, yeah.
Yes, and I realized Cowboy Bebop also has a little bit of Yakuza gang-related activity.
Right.
So, it was really nice to learn about the history of Yakuza because it's influenced so much of the culture.
Right.
And still is prevalent now, but so much less than before. But before, the Yakuza organization numbers were over 500,000. And then now it's down to like 10,000s.
Right.
So it's a lot smaller. It was cool to read too what the word comes from. Yakuza.
Where does it come from? Educate me.
I feel like I knew, but
Was anything related to a dice game?
That sounds familiar, but
Okay.
I don't.
So there was
really recall.
a dice game that if you roll any number over 10, like all 3 dice like added up number wise, the number gets worse. And then like your points, your scoring gets worse. And then there's a number that's the worst combination, and it spells out Yaku and Za.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the worst you could have been dealt is Yakuza.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also have a name for themselves, Yakuza, that is not what society calls them. So it's not Yakuza. It's like their own word that they use internally, kind of like how we call it Japan, but they call themselves Nippon.
Nippon.
Yeah, something like that, right? So society and the police would call them another word that I can't pronounce. I don't know how.
Right.
But that means something like criminal organization or something like that.
I see.
Whereas the word that they have for themselves means chivalrous society.
Interesting.
Which explains why it's got a very strong family-oriented
honor, pride,
loyalty.
Yep.
And so they see themselves as like a chivalrous group.
Yes.
You know, and that's interesting. And there have been a lot of instances in history where they kill out like corruption. And the origins also were to balance out the powers of government and politics, which lost a lot of trust many times over the history of Japan. But yeah, that makes sense though, right? You can never be completely trustworthy for generations.
Right.
You know?
Right.
There's always going to be something corrupt that comes into play, and Yakuza kind of played a part in breaking that corruption for a while, giving some fairness back to the people, essentially.
Do you think so I guess here's the question now. Do you like Akiba Maid War?
Oh, I loved it after episode 2.
Yeah. And what about you?
Oh, I had a great time. I enjoyed it.
Did you like episode 1 and 2?
Yeah, I did. What was the shift for you? Like, what was it about?
What was about episode 3?
Yeah.
We thought it was ridiculous. Like, so this is Paul and I. We both felt like it was absolutely ridiculous, the theatrics and the first 2. We couldn't take it seriously. We couldn't get into the whole their image versus like what they actually do.
Yeah.
And then watching the main character who we're following, it's kind of funny because
some people could never get over that. Like that feeling that you felt. Some people can never get over it, and they don't like the show.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then later on, they actually get into, and you realize though there was a reason behind everything. It's almost like each one was filmed by a different director of another gang movie or something, like a reference to it. So then like there are straight up cuts that I'm like, I could probably put the movie to that moment.
You can.
And like side by side it and go, it's the same thing. And then I start appreciating the artistry. It gets more realistic too at points where they go as far as bullet counting for a revolver.
Okay, yeah.
And
there's an attention to detail there that it's easy to get lost in the sauce and not think about the attention to detail. Like, did you know that Zoya is voiced by a Russian expatriate?
No.
I didn't.
Yeah,
It makes sense though, because you hear
you can hear it.
Yeah. Yeah, she is I think her name is Renya. She is a radio host in Japan.
Oh, okay.
She is from Russia.
She
grew up in
rolls
Russia.
her R's, like trills them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so like there are little things where it's like, oh, the attention to detail has to like adhere to this, and like we're gonna be ridiculous, but like they're gonna be things that like we want to be true to it.
Right.
Which I don't think we noticed in the first 2 episodes because we're just like, it's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
You're right there with the protagonist going, okay, this is ridiculous. This is wild.
You're switching.
There's no way this is real.
Gotcha.
And then you kind of go, and then like the 3rd episode, I think the tone, it slows down.
It does.
It does.
It becomes more, it's like breathing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really well-paced episode.
Yeah.
It's incredibly well-paced, and the story beats are so good. I haven't watched this anime or its original. So speaking of animes that were readapted, Megalobox.
Oh, I'm not too familiar.
Okay, so Megalobox is a remake of a actually older anime that's under a different title. I can't remember its name, but it's the anime with that character who has like hair over his eyes.
Oh yes,
but
the one,
I know the one
anime
anime, but it's the boxing, and he's got like, apparently that episode is like a pretty big love letter to it, while also being a love letter to other things. You have never watched Maltese Falcon, have you?
Negative.
How about you?
I read it.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, you've read Maltese Falcon, so you know what happens in Maltese Falcon.
Yes.
I don't even know what it is.
Maltese Falcon is considered
it's a noir.
It is a noir.
Yeah.
And I think for most people it is considered it's not the first noir, but when you think of noir, it is probably like the original poster child
I can see that.
of like classic noir.
There are things where it breaks out of noir and pulls from older styles, but then the ultimate overlay, like if you were to overlay it with a genre, it is noir because it's the storytelling, the untrustworthiness of the narrator, moments of like unreliable narrator. That's
the unreliable narrator.
Yeah. One-dimensional perspective. Yeah.
Have you heard the famous quote, "That's the stuff dreams are made of"?
Yes.
Okay, so that's from Maltese Falcon.
Oh.
That's the stuff dreams are made of. And what it is referencing, and this is spoilers for a movie that is from the 30s or whatever. Whatever. You'll get over it. Like you should
over it.
you should watch it first of all. And it is actually in reference to the title object, which is the MacGuffin of the movie, the Maltese Falcon, which is a very valuable object. But the big reveal by the end of it is that it was fake. It was a forgery. And so like all this bad stuff happened over something that wasn't even real.
Right.
And so for Sam Spade to say, "That's the stuff dreams are made of," we often romanticize the line, but it's a tragic reveal of the American dream. And so when, in a hilarious fashion, when this girl has this like anime figure of this very minor character, and it was a forgery the entire time, and all this death circulated it.
Right.
That was the stuff dreams are made.
Oh.
And suddenly your mind is blown. I do agree that episode is way better than the first and second. And the first and second episode did more feel like, oh, okay, so this is the joke and we're going to ride this joke to the end.
Yeah.
But then by that third episode, it is like, these are authentic story beats that behind the veneer of its joke, they are authentic and actually tragic, and I think that's like where this anime like blows me away.
Yeah, I think for me, I came at it because like immediately like I understood like, okay, this is going to be like this is this type of anime.
Yeah,
and I come from it from like having played the Yakuza games.
Exactly.
Right? So like the Yakuza games are really good in the fact that like its main plot line is a very like serious story.
It is.
It's a very serious
Yakuza
story. It is some of the best like crime drama that I've ever experienced.
I know nothing about the Yakuza games.
They rule.
I've heard everyone quotes them.
Yeah. You're just following the life of like one character, Kiryu Kazuma,
Right.
from like his early 30s all the way up to like his 60s throughout the entire series, and they just introduced a new protagonist for the new games. Ichiban, he's great.
Yeah.
But very serious plotline, but on the outsides of the game, like the side quests and stuff, it is wacky, it is goofy, it is some of the silliest shit you will ever see. There's one quest where you're like trying to help a kid find his lost copy of Dragon Quest, and it's so goofy, you know?
One side quest where you have to help
what kind of gameplay is Yakuza?
It's like it's a small open world, but it's like a beat 'em up. It's like a classic like 3D brawler.
But our new protag, Ichiban,
our new games are a turn-based RPG.
They're turn-based RPGs.
Okay.
With class systems.
I think that's the one I hear about more because it's got like dialogue and talking and good quotes and storytelling. I guess
They all do.
They all do.
Oh, they all do.
They all do.
Even as a beat 'em up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. Is it available on Steam?
Yeah, all of them.
Okay.
The entire collection is
Okay.
And they go on sale pretty often.
Wait, collection?
collection because there's 8 of these, 8 main games. Yeah.
What's the game time play? Like, how long does it take to play through a collection? Average.
I want to say like 20 something hours for the beat 'em ups.
Average, you'll probably do like 30 to 40.
Okay.
If you want to like 100%, it's longer. But if you're just doing like casual playthrough, it's
80
like,
hours. Got
The RPGs, the 2 RPGs they have are longer.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 RPGs.
And if you end
Makes
up not
sense.
liking the beat 'em ups, you can play the RPGs.
Mhm.
Because I think that's like a big thing is that like some people they don't vibe with the beat 'em up aspect of those
Right.
games, but then once it became an RPG with Ichiban,
Mhm.
they were really into it.
Mhm.
I know I like the gameplay of those games more, but that's because I'm a boring turn-based guy. But I do appreciate the beat 'em ups, and they were fun to play, especially like with Phil watching with me. This is when I lived with Phil.
Yeah.
He's the one who turned me on to that series, and I have a profound appreciation for the beat 'em ups, but I'm certainly more in my comfort zone
Yeah.
with Ichiban, and which is why I'm hurrying to finish Like a Dragon, because I really want to play Infinite Wealth.
You're right.
But yeah,
But
stories.
Yeah. So like when I'm seeing all this like over the top like ridiculousness, I'm just like, oh, this is just a sub story.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
this fits in. And then when it cuts to like being like more serious moments and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, now we're back in it.
Yeah.
So like I can switch very easily because I'm used to that.
Okay.
Right.
You know, so
I'm
it
the
doesn't
same way.
bother me.
I'm the same way.
You know.
And what's it called? Arguably, the side stories in the Yakuza games are also homages to old stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, you're not really there. Yeah, there's almost like no disconnect. It's just the narrative like layer that they decide to put it over is like just very different.
Yeah.
You know, instead of brotherhood, it's sisterhood. You know, like
exactly. Like we're going through the same rituals, like sisterhood. We're sipping the ramen.
Yeah,
instead of doing,
exactly.
like another ritual, and I'm like, okay, I see what we're doing here. This is goofy.
Yeah. But the value, if you've
It's-
like ever experienced the value of these moments,
Mhm.
they are like you get it.
Yeah.
in a
Oh, yeah.
weird way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When you mentioned the gore, and that was like kind of a laughable moment, right, in the very first episode of it was a Kill Bill kind of
Yes.
Yeah.
And after you said that, I was like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to see a little bit
Yeah.
that I am familiar with. It's just the almost comical.
Right.
Yep.
I was like, bro. And she just stood there taking it because she couldn't believe it.
She's like, ah.
Yeah, there's no way this is happening.
And then,
like,
oh, I forgot to take the bib off.
yeah, exactly. Like her brain couldn't like.
Well, it was until you got used to the character, right? It just seemed kind of like this is annoying, boring. Like that's their type of humor.
Right.
Like that's what they're gonna go for. Like accidental. Oh, I forgot to take off my bib.
I think
You know, it's like
Yeah.
okay, I don't see that being something I can watch a lot of, but it did not stay.
this might be
Right.
a hot statement, but I think
shit.
Nagomi's character development is one of the most interesting character developments we've had about all the anime we've watched. I think Nagomi is an incredible character.
The most interesting.
I was like the most interesting.
Yeah.
That is a hot take,
Yes.
but I can't remember all 16 plus episodes. Like
Yes.
Like I'm willing to follow you down that road. I think she's a great character.
Yeah.
Like I do think it's a great story that they told with her.
I love her.
I don't know if I would say it's the most interesting. I'd have to sit and think about it. But
and I'll tell you why. I think because her resolution by the end of the series is that she resolves not to change. by having no development, she has developed. And I think that makes her so much more interesting than a lot of other characters.
That's a very good argument, Tori. It really is.
No development.
Because there is a moment where there is genuinely a moment where you think she has fallen down that road.
Only for a few seconds.
Only for a few seconds, but she makes the most of those seconds. She fucking caps people.
Gosh, she was so sick in those moments. I was like, no, let's fucking go.
Terminator go me.
I'm ready for black pork.
But then the stuff comes back. The don't ever change. And what Vision do you see? How could it be what you always dreamed it could be? And it can, and she almost died for it. She was willing to die for it.
Yes.
And if that turn of events didn't happen at the very end,
yes,
she would have died for it.
Yes.
Right.
There was a question of whether she did or not.
Right.
For a bit there, and also a lot of the one thing I did love about the pacing was that you made a lot of assumptions, and you had to sit with your assumptions until it fed you what the fact or the end was or the resolution was.
Right.
With her, so I took a little bit more of a pragmatic approach to her choice not to go down that route and not change.
Right.
She realized there was no way she could actually do this.
That's interesting.
Because she got destroyed.
Yeah.
And it stays.
Well, Nagi is heartless. She is a terrifying villain in a funny way.
Yes. And she got destroyed by one of the underlings who was like, why should I even know anything about this? And it was like, and absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
So it's like maybe in that moment, that was enough to kill the whole, black pork.
Well, it's also very funny that she was definitely dead, and then the panda threw a spear at her. Oh my god, that shit took me out.
Right?
Of course. It was so extreme. I was like, oh, she dead. Oh, she dead. She's definitely dead.
I love that it was that moment of dramatics, and then we're not going to give her a glamorous end.
No,
We're going to make it comical now.
Yeah, exactly.
And we saw the panda sharpening the one reed.
Yeah, it was the smoking gun, or it was the gun that was left next to the counter on the fireplace.
Right.
We knew something was going to happen, but then all the stuff is happening, and then it happens, and you're like, when was it going to go on?
Right.
And it came up as a joke.
Yeah.
So that's why I have that kind of hot take statement, because I don't know, there's something really, there's something kind of sad about it, but also ultimately I think she is very happy finally achieving her dream. And she has and there are the people that do care about her that are going, and then the pictures on the wheel is a really nice touch of her sisters essentially at that point. And to do it all the way up to the same age that Renko was doing it.
Loved that moment.
Yeah.
That was very cute, because it also tells you how long now she's been a maid for.
Right. Because we've seen her from the beginning, which is
she was
classic.
17 years old, so it's almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And loving it.
That's very classic Yakuza storytelling.
It is.
Yeah. The young start all the way up to the old hardened veteran, but she's not a hardened veteran because she changed things.
She did. It was such a quick ending where they kind of just clarify what's been going on for the past 20 years. Just a little bit of dialogue. They didn't expand on forever and drag it out. It was just a quick did you know this place used to have a lot of gang stuff?
It was pretty funny. Normie people acknowledging boy, it was rough out here.
I mean, because of the three, guys that originally went, one died.
Yeah.
Is tortured to death.
Yeah, he's
not
tortured
even
to death.
Not even just shot and boom, no, tortured to death.
Right.
That's that was a master, right?
Yeah.
The guests that they're supposed to be serving.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not supposed to do anything to the masters.
They're supposed to be untouchable.
Yeah.
And here they were breaking all their own rules. It's that's scary, right? When you have an organization that is strong on rules and then they change their rules.
That's also why I found what's her name? Who's the what was her nickname? The red
Crimson Supernova.
Yeah, the Crimson Supernova is super interesting. It is it's a cartoonish name, but once again, going past the veneer, she is almost like she is a very interesting foil to Nagomi, because whereas like we slowly learn that Nagomi wants to change things in this direction, she almost wants to pull it back to the old way.
Or keep it.
Keep it that way.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is, that makes her a really cool foil to Nagomi. Even though most of her conflict is with Ranko, because Nagomi at this point hadn't, changed in that way.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the appealing things of like mob films or Yakuza media is like your ideals.
Yeah.
And how far you're willing to go for your ideals.
And why.
Right. And why.
It's really interesting because that's like a major plot point of Yakuza 7.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. So there's a change in like the guard where it's like this is no longer like Yakuza does not have a place in current society as it was, right?
Like we were just talking about the history of Yakuza.
Yeah, quite literally.
So like we need to put this behind us. But there's one that is out there that's like, no. This is how it should be. Right. We cannot change.
Right.
And it's like
they're clinging on to it.
They're clinging on to it, right? And they're taking everybody down with them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it goes even further to like, okay, what happens to like the displaced Yakuza members, like the lower members? Like what do? They can't get back into society because society has shunned them.
Right.
So like they find shelter in this guy that is trying to like keep the old ways alive.
Right.
Right. And it becomes a whole deal. So like when I look at the Crimson Supernova. I'm like, I have flashes of that storyline.
Because that was her. She otherwise would not have had a place if she wasn't the gunslinger, bat swinging.
That's all she knows.
That's all she knows. She just got out of prison.
She's not cutesy. She's older, like Ranko.
She's not going to be able to get a normal job anywhere. She's a convicted felon in Japan. Like, fuck no.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So like,
you're lucky she's allowed to even stay in Japan.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So like through the cartoonish veneer of it all, there is the drama there, and I cannot help but like be weirdly moved by it. I'm like, oh my God, so cool. Yeah. I can't believe I'm like losing my mind for a character called the Crimson Supernova, who is a maid for the medallions, which ended up falling completely apart once that was done. She was the only thing that was trying to like, keep it there. And then not only that, it turns out even more tragic for the medallions, because once they sold through it, one thing led to another, and it ended up even worse for them.
Yes,
it's
true.
So
I loved the detail you mentioned too into her animation. Made me realize like she had definitely been in jail for a long time, because the way she held herself was one who wears pants. For the past 15 years, not a dress.
Right.
So just straight up.
Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Oh my gosh.
No fan service here, boys.
Bro.
No, you can even see the panties. Just saw. Sup.
The classic, like,
and the slang that they wrote into her way of speaking, but she wasn't the only one who spoke that way either. They said,
exactly.
What you mean?
Yeah.
So that's another thing I want to. Once again, I'm going to extremes here, but that's because I really did like end up loving this way more than I thought. I do think out of all the anime we've watched, the 16 that we've watched, it has some of the best voice acting. Like I think the fact that they're playing these cutesy characters, and then some of them have to switch it on a dime
Yumichi.
to be cute or be the like,
hey,
I'm going to kill you. There's a range there, and they're hooting and hollering, and we accept it, and then or if you're able to accept it, you get lost in it, and then you start to like forget that like, man, they're doing this on a dime. And like I said, to pick and choose where you want to kind of have that attention to detail, with Zoya and stuff like that. Have it full Russian. Like, she is speaking Russian, It's, I don't know. It's impressive, and I can't get it out of my head where once again, Crimson Supernova, I feel so she's acting the hell out of the scene where she's like, this is my ideal, and I want to keep it this way. And even though she's wearing like this maid outfit, she's beating people with a bat.
It was difficult to differentiate her from Nagi. I will say, because they had very similar ideals, except they just had different approaches to those same ideals.
Right. And ultimately, they ended up clashing. You know,
power struggle.
Yeah,
But Nagi had not gone to jail for 15 years.
Yeah.
So she was able to.
I'm curious as to if Nagi would have been able to climb that high if Crimson Supernova was not in jail for that long. Also, what did she go to jail for?
I think they all got framed for some sort of murder.
Classic.
Yeah.
The power vacuum, like the world is different now that I'm out here. You know, classic Yakuza.
That's how Yakuza starts.
Yakuza, let's go!
He takes the fall for his patriarch, and then he comes out of jail 15 years later. And he's like, "Yo, the world is different."
Yep.
Is this Persona 5?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's all there. It's all there. The riveting like drama, and it takes its cues from it, but it's also like it's within its own world. Like it never lets go of like this is how our world is and operates, and yes, it's a reference to all these other things, but this is the story within our world.
Yeah,
and I think like you know. There's a lot of testicular fortitude in this anime. They have a lot of moxie.
They do.
And so, like, I don't know.
Moxie?
I just... Moxie?
Yeah, what's that?
Like, chutzpah. Do you know chutzpah?
Nope.
A lot of...
This is my favorite part of the podcast.
Where I start...
every episode, there's a part where James like, what? And then I have to listen to Asher try to explain it. And, what?
Asher's thesaurus corner.
Yeah. If we were a kids' cartoon show or a kids' like educational show, we'd have a moment like, did you know that word?
Yeah.
Bravado?
Bravado, yeah. Okay, like gusto.
Yeah, gusto. Gusto is another...
What was the second word you used? Chutzpah? Chutzpah?
Yeah. It's la chutzpah. I think it's Jewish.
Why do you think I know that one?
I don't know, because it was like a... I don't know. It was another word that came up when I'm thinking of
That's
like...
so funny.
Great.
I love the Asher brain train.
It never stops rolling.
I like having to ask you this because it helps anybody who might be listening. Like also go, oh yeah, I didn't know that word either.
Right.
Fucking Riz kid over here.
Riz kid. What does that mean? Oh man. Yeah. So we've covered like a good amount of the Yakuza stuff. And that seems to be like a lot of the big reason that we like it. It seems like we like that kind of like gang drama. I think a lot of it is the ideals and how much you're willing to stand by it. What did we think of like the animal theme? How did you feel about it? Like, do you like that? Do you think it was a good narrative tool, I guess, to make them like the pigs? They were in a pigsty. They're at the bottom of the ladder. Of course, like the head of it all, lions, right? Creature land. And it's traditionally like the king of the jungle is the lion. And then all of a sudden when things are shaken up, when those maids get the...
A pig one.
A pig one. Know your place, you know, type of thing, and the history of maids. You know, I've never actually read Animal Farm.
Oh, really?
Right.
George Orwell's Animal Farm?
So I want to...
What's Animal Farm?
I want to throw it out there because I was curious if this has any... Because that is a classic tale of, like, animal and power struggle.
It is.
So, Jenny, please explain... Animal Farm.
It's been a long time since I read it. I think last time I read it was 2018. But it's a commentary on socioeconomic status. And then there's like a hierarchy of animals and their worth as used by a farmer.
Okay.
But the big overall arching ending image that stays in people's minds is that the farm is basically bled dry of its resources, and then all that's left is a bunch of fat, arguing, sweaty guys, and they're depicted as pigs. Like the image is just like they're snorting around, being all like...
Because I think they overthrow the farmer, right?
Yes.
And then so from that point on, the animals try to establish their own like system, and so I don't really know how it plays
it's a bunch of pigs that end up running everything at the end of the day.
Okay.
But it's like, does anything actually change though? Because they very much are the same way as the humans were.
Yeah.
And so that's fascinating to hear, because in an interesting twist of fate, the pigs do change things for supposedly the better in this story, which is fun, because not every story is the same. You know, this one's a little bit more optimistic.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it is.
Because you can make an argument for how any animal could also turn it to selfishness, which is discussed in Animal Farm, albeit briefly for other animals.
Right.
But like, for example, the horse had no way to win or be the one who could lead, because they were so selfless. They were so give everything until your dying breath. And then when you're bled dry and told that you'll at least be honored with a cute grave, you get sold for your hooves to make glue.
Right.
Your whole ass body just for the hoof gel or whatever. And no, you will not have a cute little ceremony, even though they promised him, put him in a truck as he's like dying.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's not my Uma.
And that's a horse. And horses live a long time too, so they actually had a lot of the memories and histories of this farm beyond all the other animals too. They're like, but Old Faithful has always been here.
Right.
Always been here.
Yeah.
And he's definitely going to get that ceremonious end because he stuck to his ideals, right? Ideals.
Yeah.
But yeah, Animal Farm is a great read.
Interesting.
Yeah. Fantastic. But I could see some there.
You could see some?
Some, but not a lot, because we start with knowing we're focusing on one animal, which we don't do in Animal Farm.
Right.
And also, like you said, the ending's a little more idealistic.
Yeah.
Where the pigs are painted as truly smart, you know, and strategic and positive. Like their means are not to be greedy.
Right. Do you think Animal Farm was part of the reason that pigs are associated that way?
No. I think pigs have always been seen as like a
grotesque animal.
Bottom of like a bottom feeder. Also just something that can just be as disposable.
Right.
Because they do breed in higher numbers, and then they're used a lot for science experiments too.
Right.
Since, forever ago with dissection, their organs and lining most closely mirror the human body, the organ placement. So there's always that thing about assassins using pigs to train on. They're train their trainees on, because they're like, close your eyes, and if you can place it perfectly right where the human part would be, practice it on a pig.
Right.
Also, Snatched. I guess that's a gang film, isn't it?
Snatch is a gang movie.
Okay, I've seen Snatch. They use the pigs to dispose of bodies because pigs will eat anything.
Right.
Also, pigs are kind of terrifying.
They are.
Yeah, like
they are.
They get big.
And they can be violent.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went on our honeymoon. We went to the Bahamas, and they had this whole like swim with the sharks and the.
Oh, you went to that pig swimming place?
Yes, we did. It was funny because
it's a famous place in the Bahamas where like you can go swimming in the crystal clear waters, but they have these like island pigs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like they're bred and like grown on this island only.
Right.
So it was swim with a sunken airplane, swim with iguanas, swim with sharks, and then swim with pigs. And I was like, I found one from order of least dangerous to most dangerous.
Which is funny with the sharks there.
Yeah. The sharks were no problem. The water was just cold. The pigs were terrifying.
Yeah.
Because we were given like lettuce and carrots to feed to them.
Yeah.
And you were close to getting your hand taken with it every time.
Jesus.
And the pigs came up to here on me.
Right. Yeah.
Standing.
Right.
So I was like,
whoa.
Like, here you go. And like they did bite somebody while I was there.
Yeah.
And like her wrist was like
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And it was because she was drunk and she didn't like let go of the carrots. So it was her fault. She was drunk, but it was like
still.
Yeah. They bite hard.
Yeah.
They don't hold back, and they would chase after you if you had a carrot in your hand. You're just like
Right. Huh.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
I like that.
Pigs so I think there was a couple of references too about the nature of pigs being cutthroat. If you threaten something they care about, like their piglets or whatever, that they will absolutely come after you and they'll remember you.
Yeah. Because they're smart animals too, aren't
they're
they?
very smart. Yeah. Like you can train a pig like a dog. Actually, even better than a dog.
Right.
They'll pick it up faster. Yeah.
I know that makes
So
such an interesting thematic choice.
well, I mean, so what we talked about earlier, like what do we know about maid cafe culture?
Yeah.
I know that they can be kind of dingy places where only depressed people go. It's like kind of one of the, I guess, types of cafes you can go to, and that being a maid itself is actually very sad and dark. Because you can't find work in any other place, kind of a situation. You're just a young female who doesn't have education, can't get a job anywhere else. This is probably the safest option for you for a while. It was that way,
Yeah.
and also a little bit of like cutesy glamour to it because you are idolized of beauty.
They also want to sell the job to people, so
Yeah, exactly. So kind of like what was she fed was the main character fed to believe that this is her dream to be a maid.
Right.
It was to wear a cute uniform to work. Flight attendants, I think, also have.
They have that same. It's a similar thing.
It is servitude, and also you have to be a certain size. Like my mom, definitely, she's from an older era, of course. Will glamorize the flight attendants as you had to be a certain height, which is hard to accomplish in Asia.
Yeah.
Like you had to be over 5'2", and you had to be less than whatever pounds. And there are a lot of movies that actually do go into that culture of
Pan Am was a famous show.
Yeah.
That covered that stuff.
Yeah, where it's like, they would weigh them every morning before they could go to work.
Oh, wow.
And be like, you're 2 pounds over. You're going to get me out for this week.
Whoa.
No shifts for you this week.
They're
No
practically
paycheck.
models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're pitched as, right?
I mean, you have the uniform that has to be a skirt, for a long time. They don't do that anymore, but some places still do. Like if you go like Korean Air or Qatar Airways, I think,
Right.
you still have that traditional where must wear a skirt, must wear makeup, must have your hair a certain way, but also be able to hold 50 pounds.
Right.
With one arm.
Yeah, right.
Place your luggage in the overhead bin. I got you. So you have that kind of culture feeding into like the maid cafe. Like it is kind of glamorized, but itself it can be kind of dingy. And so when they're like their line is like "Welcome to the pigsty," it's like, why would I be welcomed to something like that?
Yeah, there's a funny like, I don't want to say irony. Is it irony? Yeah,
I would say so.
Yeah,
I think
there's a
ironic.
funny irony to it. Because then it's almost like inviting you to also like, you could be a slob here, like you can let go of your inhibitions.
Which most of the guys that probably want to go to those places want to just be like, whatever.
Right.
I am myself, but you will still talk to me.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But as opposed to a strip club where they keep it dark for a reason.
Yeah.
This is brightly lit.
Yeah, it's super brightly lit. They're dancing and singing occasionally.
Yeah.
And, it's a really neat juxtaposition. But the intent is no different from if you were to see the same scene in a intentionally like gritty crime drama movie.
One of the most gritty moments I think was the casino.
Okay, love that scene.
Because one, they're gambling themselves,
Right.
Because they don't have any money.
Yes,
Which is what you do in that industry, I think.
Yes.
Right, you are your selling.
So this was another thing that I heard that this series referenced, but I actually do not have a lot of experience studying these films. Was pink films. Apparently, like the show has a lot of references to pink cinema, which
pink?
is soft core, like 50 Shades of Grey is a more modern one.
Okay.
But this has been going on like around the world for a long time.
I don't know.
And so like there are some classic Japanese pink films where like there's sexploitation. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So that's actually one of the things I did call out was like the detail in like the lines, like the choice of dialogue was very good. And one of them was when they were talking in the cage about what's going to happen to them.
Yes.
If
Right.
you lose, it's like, they hear that they put you on a ship, they send you out to catch crabs until you can't anymore, and then they throw you overboard or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that a euphemism for STIs?
Right.
Like you become a sex slave at this point, and
Yes.
then human trafficking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like catch crabs until you can't. It's such a gross.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, God. Like you keep catching STDs and STIs until you can't catch anymore because you're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
that's disgusting.
Exactly.
That was one of the grossest moments that I was like, wow, this is gonna go hard. Like this
wow.
anime is gonna go hard.
Yeah.
Yep. Big fan of that moment and that kind of thing. And then next thing you know, you're watching a baseball episode.
A well done baseball episode.
Yeah,
Because
actually.
usually I would skip that as a filler.
Ah.
You know, I've seen horrible like baseball scenes or the drug scenes or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're just like silly, you
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
But this one was very well done.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that?
I like the episode. I do like the episode. It is, I think a lot of it is like the resolution at the end. Like the Medallions fall even further down. Like,
Yeah.
the axolotls, I think at that point, they have to take on that role or that animal.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Wasn't that also the episode where we reveal the other character, the character who ultimately ends up killing
The Ocelot.
Nagi, right?
The one that was in the costume?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that episode, right? Was she at the baseball game?
I don't remember.
Yeah, because she's the one that killed the
Yes.
current head of the
Yeah.
of that group.
It's a really cool.
Because she came down on the field and just like
Oh, because she's the one who killed Crimson Superman.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right?
I forgot about that.
So that's the gun that's put on the table, but at least I didn't know it. You know, maybe I'm a little bit more gullible. But yeah, that gun is put on the table, and then, of course, we should have known that she was also going to do that to Nagi. You know? Like,
No. I think that's the chaotic nature
Yeah.
of you can watch your back at all times and still get
Right, exactly.
Because there was way too many threats in this small area.
Even during a baseball game.
Yeah.
There's a
All that
very
they prop them up
famous-
to, like,
Yeah.
they're fine.
Yeah. Yeah, oh my gosh.
There's like a very important scene in Yakuza 7 that is that.
Oh, shut the baseball scene.
It's not the baseball scene, but like that moment of just like it could be anyone that just like ends a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane.
Also, there's only one time I can remember.
I know you're working
having-
through that game, so I'm not gonna spoil it.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate it. There's also, I haven't felt this feeling since a Bong Joon-ho movie called The Host. He's the guy who did Parasite.
Yes.
The feeling
Host.
of when
Host.
it was a Korean monster
I feel like
film.
I've seen it.
Yeah, where like the monster is this like weird quadruped from the Han River. It was created because Americans poured formaldehyde down the drain.
Yes, I have seen this.
Okay.
I didn't know that he's the same guy who did Parasite.
Wild, right? Very
Yeah.
cool. But I have not felt this feeling since that movie, and that was the feeling of Ranko's funeral.
Oh.
When the picture for Ranko
Oh.
is her
Baseball.
baseball pictures. And I am losing my mind laughing, but there's something weirdly touching. You know, this is a very positive memory of Ranko.
Absolutely.
Well, she's. It was where she sided with Nagomi to go against the violence, even though she's the most violent character.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because
was-
for this character revealed to her, just like her best friend Narula, it rubbed off like things can change. We're not in a never-ending like hell cycle. you
It
know?
was very funny to me when Nagi asked Ranko, why does she care so much for Nagomi?
Mhm.
She said she reminds me of the old chief or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't think she does. I think she reminds you of you.
Hmm.
Because there are a lot more similarities between Nagomi and Ranko than with what we ever saw of the chief.
Yeah.
Because the chief was also a war chief. Like,
Yeah.
she was a warlord.
Yes. But she was trying to change.
But only because of Ranko.
Yeah.
But only because of Ranko. You're right.
Ranko was the cute one who came in and all like, oh, I just want to be good. I want to help.
Right.
I do good. And then the Nagi was the violent one who Ranko kind of became.
Yeah,
like-
you're right.
So
And that's the beauty of Nagomi's like not turning into Ranko.
yeah,
Mhm.
she if anything, Ranko kind of became the chief.
Yeah,
was
she
like-
did.
So it's like I don't think you're saying that right, Ranko. I think she reminds you of
I
you.
never thought about it that way.
But Ranko's really selfless, so she
Yeah.
of course wouldn't think of herself in the scenario of like, why do I care so much about Nagomi? She's like, oh, she reminds me of somebody I loved.
Yeah.
Not she reminds me of me, because that would sound very selfish. Or
Right.
that would sound very
Right.
self-centered, which Ranko was definitely not
No.
self-centered.
No, definitely not.
So, yeah, I think that was a pretty cool moment, though, the baseball outfit,
Yeah.
because that was the first time that I think I saw Ranko support Nagomi.
Yeah.
And it's very early on, but we'd just seen many scenes of Renko being very violent
Yes.
and ruthless and successful
Yes.
with her ruthlessness. So she had no reason to pull her punches
Mhm.
and chooses to do so.
Yeah.
We don't get the why for a long time, and it doesn't really matter.
You don't need it.
No.
Yeah,
You don't need it.
we
Right.
don't.
And yeah, Renko is a very interesting character throughout the entire show. How do you guys feel about the episode with the assassin?
Yay! I'm so glad you brought that up.
Actually, I am worried about the camera overheating. Can we take a quick break? And then I'm excited to hear what you think because you seemed very excited
Our
about
camera
it.
needs to go on break, guys, so we'll be back after these
Camera
messages.
Coon, you're allowed to rest. So
Camera
be
Coon?
right back.
Rest.
We have lost the Akiba. We are now just maids.
He didn't want to pronounce it Akiba.
Akiba, fuck it. We're just maids.
Shout outs to me. There's
Shout
no
outs to
other.
maids.
There's no other anime we're going to watch that involves maids, so we don't need the mark on the footage.
I say.
All right. So you said you wanted to talk about a couple things while we were on break, but let's bridge the gap. How do we feel about the episode with the assassin? So apparently you did some research on that episode.
I did.
Yeah. Let's go.
Tell me about it.
Oh, I didn't want to go Rob's first before I say all
Oh wait,
the research.
did you?
Oh no! I'm curious about the
Oh,
research.
man.
Like, let's dig into the
She
research.
said,
and
"Oh man."
Okay,
spread out
so
from there.
Yeah.
definitely his character design
Mhm.
was more European, and there are some
It is.
sprinkles of European influence into the design of this anime. His nose shape, for example, there's like a profile of them looking at each other, and it's like his nose is distinctly like the bridge is very high. Even Ranko doesn't even have that design.
Right.
The music too gets Italian at a lot of points.
Oh
Like
yes.
straight up referencing the ending theme, you know, the OP.
Oh
has that.
man, when I found out that that's the dress she wore, you know, that shows up in that ED, that song became infinitely sadder.
Yes. Yes, it does.
I was like, oh man, they got me.
I think it was around then that I noticed too that all the ending themes, which you realize Paul and I actually skip the ending credits usually.
Yeah, I got kind of shooketh by that.
I know.
It made me sad.
I realized that. You have to have a really good one though that makes us go. Oh,
Sure.
listen to this.
And that's fair. You know, I'm not
Like
gonna
it's
tell you.
really got to capture us.
But it did make me sad.
I understand. But I found out after that episode that it changes. The ending credits changed the animation at the end to like show like a little bit of like the mood, the theme.
Right.
So putting effort into both the beginning and the ending is fantastic.
Yes.
So what else with that one? There was that moment where we got all confused when the assassin walks out of somewhere and then drops something on the ground and then just keeps walking. At least, did you guys like get confused at that moment?
I'm trying to remember that moment because there's a lot that happens in that episode.
Yeah.
I don't
I wouldn't
remember
say I got confused. I don't think I had thought too hard on it.
We could not help but notice it. It was like somebody just took a shit in the middle of the road and then just walked away. Like, we just were like, what was that? Why do? And also, the one of the animation flaws is that they don't give you the writing, like they don't translate what the writing is on anything.
Yeah.
So it doesn't tell you like in the subtitles
that's
like
true.
3 p.m. our event at such and such cafe. It just puts it out there, and I'm like, oh, thank God I can read that.
Right.
So it didn't tell what store he was walking out of. It was a jewelry store.
Yes.
And there's a very quick little clip of what he purchased, and it was pearls.
Yeah.
So that solidified what his intent was,
Right.
which it was up in the air for I think a lot
It is.
Yeah.
of what he was like. Is he
It's
actually
because
gonna?
our introduction to him is him killing someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And says it was easy, you know.
Yeah.
And we don't know who actually hired him, even though they keep accusing. We actually never knew.
Yeah, which is interesting because Ronko is the type of character who could have a lot of enemies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we hear a female voice, but we don't actually know. They don't ever caption the voice.
Yeah. Yeah, it never
and
tells
they
you
tell
that,
you-
oh, it's Nagi.
Right. Except the panda does, you know. But
Right,
it's like,
right.
how does the panda know?
Right.
What connection does the panda have into this inner circle where even the underlings of Nai are like, why do you think I would know that?
Right.
So it's
How
like
would you know this?
it could be all assumptions.
Mhm.
And when you've been in the industry for that long and you've watched a lot of stuff, you're gonna believe your assumptions are always right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Which is also part of the tragedy.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. But yes, he did buy pearls for her.
Damn.
Yeah. And then, yes, she did leave her weapon behind.
Mhm.
Trying to think what else with other research they saw.
It's sad.
It's pretty sad.
It is because you were like, dang, all this after that could have been avoided.
It could have been.
This is a spoiler for another anime, but oh man. Actually, yeah, I just gotta pump the brakes there. I'm not even gonna bring up what anime it is.
Oh, snap.
But there is a manga for an upcoming season of an anime. An upcoming season of an anime is pretty much this, but it will be that story in a season.
Oh, okay.
And like, I couldn't help but like think about it. You know, I'll tell you guys once it happens, because it is a very popular anime. But very similar themes here, which only speaks volumes about like that story itself.
Right.
Two people, they kind of want to get out, you know, and they can be happy together.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even think that they want to get out until they meet each other.
Right.
Exactly.
You know?
They never have that thought.
No, because he was very fine with his whole
He was, yeah.
thing, and he didn't go there because he wanted to like get out of it. He just went there because he was scoping out.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Just conversation
pending,
starts, and then it's just like, oh, there's something here.
Yeah.
And he starts to value that.
Yes.
You know?
Or not even that, but it was like, someone who actually probably speaks to a deep level.
Right.
That I don't even have to. It's like they spoke without speaking.
Right.
A
Yeah.
lot.
And these are two
They
characters
understood
who
each other.
who don't have a lot of like, they don't talk a lot
No.
in general.
No, and he's still very charmed by the way she speaks.
Exactly.
And it's her honest self.
Which surprises everyone there.
Yeah.
They're like, someone wants her, she's not like a maid at all.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, up to this
She's got
point.
this like really deep voice.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Which
love
is so
it.
funny in the OP.
OPs, yeah.
when she sings her part. But then, like, it makes it even more romantic
It is.
that he is like, you know.
Like we're the whole audience is like, we think you found your soulmate, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from there, from this episode on, you get, as the audience, fed a lot of assumptions. Where things, you watch it from your perspective and assume a lot. And then you get told in very small ways that you've been wrong. So one of those is the episode right after it opens with a mysterious unidentified male body has been found. Police are still working on it.
You thought it was.
We thought it was the assassin.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yep,
We're all
right.
like, oh, confirmed, he is dead.
Yeah, right.
Like-
but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
We actually don't know if he's dead.
yeah.
We actually don't see him die.
Right.
Right.
So, and like, oh man, what a sad way for an assassin to go. Just like walking to my love.
Yeah, oh my god, that
Right.
pearl ring flying out, that reveal, and it was, what's her name who did it? Panda, right?
Panda.
Mm-hmm.
A kind of tragic character.
Oh no.
I think kind of tragic because she is definitely like caught up in the whole thing. Like I mean, who's to say if she would be any different if she wasn't like in this world of like Yakuza mates. But she certainly drank the juice, you know, and took hits for everything, you know. She had the dream, you know. The dream is not real. She was a constant victim of like the dream is not real.
Do you think she has any sort of redeeming thing about her?
I think by the end she is on the side. I don't know if she's redeemed. I think one could argue she's irredeemable. I think I do side on that.
I am with that.
But I'm not going to say that she didn't try. I think she tried. But she's past saving.
Nah.
I think she's past saving.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
do think she tried. So.
Like, even with the comical ending with her, I'm like, nah, not redeemed. It was already dead.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. I think I would also say like she's irredeemable, but I do see like she I feel like she wants to do better.
She wants to do better. I think that's part of it. And
like she wanted to look out for Ranko and that and like tell her that stuff. But like
things were only made worse.
But it was only made worse, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's something there where like she wants to, but it does not work out.
Exactly.
I will say there is a funny moment where I go, why is the assassin ageless?
Anime.
That was the only thing that I was like, wait, he looks exactly the same. Is there something there? That was another thing that I researched. I was like, because Ranko ages, Nagomi ages.
But assassination immortality.
I think that's really
they drink the blood of their targets.
Ah, yes, of course.
Of course. Forever youthful.
Yes.
But I think it's very interesting that you bring that up because that is a very like, we almost feel like an unreliable narrator now because of the way it's like piecing the assumptions together.
Yes.
And so like,
because previously...
That's Noir, baby! Yeah. Let's fucking go. Everyone watch Noir.
Previously, they hadn't done that, where we had to like guess what was going on. We were given what was going on.
Right.
Thereafter, we assume a lot, and we go, "Oh, I was wrong," but it was very quick, like that.
Right.
And they like kind of drop it on the side, like, "Oh yeah, no, you're gonna." It was actually the third, one of the third guys that comes to the cafe.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Not Yeah, and the assumption too that we don't know whether he's going to, that his plan was to get her out of town and then end her, where she has no support, which was brilliant. But it was a lot of assumptions that tells you over and over you're wrong. We watch her go through the beginnings of her black pork and we go, okay, this is where it's going now.
Yeah.
Nope, shut down real fast. Okay, quick fast.
Yeah. God.
Thought things were good and then they weren't good suddenly.
No, it gets pretty dire.
I mean, I thought it was going to get bad right after the climbing scene, the festival, because of all the affronts, and we thought it was going to get bad immediately, but no, they actually get good stuff happening right after. It's like they held true to the traditions of the competition, and I was like, oh, they're actually not. Okay, wow, they actually get to celebrate a little bit here. I didn't expect that. I thought it'd be immediately like,
because on the surface we need to portray like that everything is fine, like sure they won, that's
it's a calm before the storm.
But in the background, like in the shadows, we're like, okay, we need to take these motherfuckers out because they just ruin everything.
The face that they gave Nagi, when they cut to that face of her, like
at
after,
the end,
Ooh.
Well, I thought it was going to be much sooner,
right?
But it wasn't. It wasn't.
No.
So I was like, oh, again, I'm wrong. Oh, assumptions. Oh.
Kind of scarier that she didn't just like hot jump the gun.
I think that's actually maybe that's a big difference between Nagi and Crimson Supernova.
Right.
For sure.
Crimson Supernova would jump the gun.
Right here, actually on stage. Everybody watching.
Right there.
Right.
In front of all the masters, absolutely.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. No. In true nature to the festival, absolutely Crimson Supernova. But this is where Nagi maybe is the progression from Crimson Supernova.
Yes.
And does it behind the scenes quietly,
right?
Preparing for
even willing all the way up to the end to entertain the maid dance.
Yes.
Like, I'll entertain this.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I love too how she said, like, I'd ever go to the pigsty.
Yeah, like I'd ever.
And then when she said she's gonna go too, I was like.
So it's.
Again, the words so choice. All of them.
Yeah.
So choice.
Yeah. Where'd you rank this in terms of like writing for all the anime that we watched on the show? Or have we never, I guess, or have we really even thought about the writing this hard up until this point?
I do.
Yeah.
Because writing is one of the things that I pay most attention to.
Yeah.
Because I also pay attention to how it's translated.
Right.
And then like for dub versus, and then we've talked about localization.
Yeah, we've
had
that conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have my thoughts about you, Rob.
It's also strange because it is unlike anything we've watched.
I'm gonna scroll through your notes real quick on what we watched. Ooh, okay.
What was the question again?
It was like, how do you feel about the writing? And like is it
better or worse than like the things
anything else that we watched? Yeah.
I don't. I don't think the writing like blows me away,
Right.
honestly. But I think it was like a very well told like Yakuza story.
Yeah.
Right. Just done in a very fun and silly
Digestible.
in a digestible way, right? And I
If
think
it was just a bunch of guys, it probably felt like a lot of male testosterone.
Right. So I think there's some brilliant.
Which does rock too.
Absolutely.
I will always. You guys gotta watch Tokyo Drifter.
I'll watch it with you. That's my condition. I'll watch it with you.
We'll start slapping each other.
What did I walk into?
Oh boy!
Oh my god!
I do
Came
think
here, an
there's-
anime fan, something I'm part of the Yakuza.
right?
And that one is also cool because like it has a similar in a over the top way the animal thematic because the main character is likened in Tokyo Drifter to a phoenix. So it's not even just a regular animal; it's a mythical creature. Like this guy cannot die.
No.
You know, so like, and there's only one of him. You know.
Whoa, is this Berserk?
She's seeing it everywhere. It begins only 9 chapters in, but yeah, I digress. Yeah.
Oh no, but I was saying like there's some
my
brilliance
God,
in that.
300
but,
pull
like,
for
it's-
Berserk,
it's- Yeah.
Sorry, I just realized I'm like that's where I've seen that scene before. Oh my gosh, sorry. Continue, Rob.
No, but I thought it was very enjoyable, right? But it didn't like I wasn't mind blown by it. But also
Really?
maybe that's also because like
You've seen the story so
I've
much
seen
before.
this so much before.
Yeah.
Like this is just a Yakuza sub story to me.
Right.
So it's nothing new in my world. But I think they did it incredibly well.
Right.
Right. That's not to like take away anything.
Yes.
What is writing that has stood out to you out of curiosity?
Is it a story you've never heard before, like type of steez?
Usually it has to be like something that like I haven't really experienced before a
What
lot
about
of times.
Spice
but
and
like
Wolf? Would that one have good writing? I haven't seen it, but you talk about it a lot.
I feel like it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't know how to answer.
Yeah, that's fair.
I need you to go deep into the recesses of your heart and
I mean,
conscience.
you don't have to have an opinion about it because we, as like studiers of this stuff, it's just a new thing to think about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, so maybe it's just a new thing to think about.
I mean,
for
you guys
maybe.
have made me open my eyes to animation style. Where I
Right.
well, you guys talk about it pulling you out,
And then
I
once
go,
and then this one's in a completely different stratosphere. I didn't even think about metamorphosis as an allegory for cancer. You know, like that's just like that's a completely new way to look at it. And you know, I probably don't think about that unless I pose the question.
Right.
So your answer could simply be like, no, I just haven't thought about it that way. Do I want to exert the energy too? Maybe not, but maybe I do. Maybe there's value in
in
it.
little ways, it's you guys have made me look at the studios more. I never looked at that before. Like, who's the studio that did this?
Yeah, studios have a. You guys, I feel like I ask this every fucking time, and I know it's yes.
No.
Auteur theory, right? You guys know auteur theory.
Yes.
Remind me.
Auteur theory is the belief that like the author of a work. I mean, this is mostly within the realm of film. So the director of the work follows a particular style that can resonate throughout all their films. So like,
Oh yes.
you could tell
yes.
a Spielberg
Michael
movie.
Bay.
You could tell Bayhem. That's what they
Yeah.
call auteur theory
Yeah.
for Michael
Nolan.
Bay. Yes, Nolan.
Yeah.
There's a recurring thing.
Definitely.
And so what's interesting is that with anime, authors and mangaka will like follow this, but then weirdly, because of the leap to animation, studios almost have their own auteur theory
Well,
and their
yeah.
approach to animation.
Oh, yeah.
You've called that out with Key, Visual Key,
Yeah.
Studio
Yes.
Key.
Studio Key
Studio Key,
or
yeah.
like Shaft has like a very like unique
Yeah.
Trigger.
trigger as well. Yeah.
So, what was the role of the guy who did Took Tommy Galaxy? Was he the writer, producer?
Oh, that's the director.
Director?
Yeah, he's the director.
Okay, because even he doesn't have something I think was distinct other than the first two or whatever. But then Devilman Crybaby apparently is so different from both of those.
Yeah, so no, so from animation, very clear that it's the same guy.
Oh, really?
Super crazy
Oh, okay.
clear.
Oh, maybe I need to watch that then.
But from a narrative standpoint, they're different. Because he chooses a very wide range of genres. I think.
Okay.
He's very. I don't know if it's the decision to challenge himself. It feels like it.
Sure.
I feel like he puts himself in positions to really get out there.
Apparently, he likes to challenge everybody, including
see that.
himself.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's his approach is very interesting, and I'm curious as to and that seems to be rubbing off on his studio because, like, right, they just got done with Scott Pilgrim, which is its own whole thing.
Ryan Kosmowski just finished it.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of misgivings at the beginning, but he
Really?
finished it, which I was surprised.
Uh-huh.
He just told us this past weekend. I don't know what he said beyond he finished it just recently.
Uh-huh.
But Scott Pilgrim is his favorite movie of all time.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And so when it came out with the animation, we were all excited, like, oh, what's your review on it? He was like very like, ugh. But then he ended up finishing it and he was very positive about it towards the end.
Yeah, I think it's incredible.
So I can see, because this, apparently it's a different story.
Oh boy.
Oh.
You haven't watched it?
No, none of it.
Cool.
And I don't have any intention to.
Why?
I don't have time.
Time is important.
Yeah.
Me on the next episode picks it as the next anime.
Does that count? Would that work?
I mean, it's
Is Avatar an anime? Sorry.
yeah. No, I mean, well,
Had to throw
that,
back to episode 0.
that is fully. It is science. It is fully Science Saru, right? It is a Japanese animation studio. Like, you know, we could get to that whole. I don't really want to.
I'll let you guys do that on the off episode in July.
That is the current discourse over the new Tomb Raider anime.
Oh.
Eyes rolling out of my ear holes. They roll out of the room.
Oh.
Like, I don't care.
Oh.
What's it called? And then
I know nothing.
you know, they're going from Scott Pilgrim to Dan Dan Dan, and Dan 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 is a pretty extreme shift.
Like the noodles?
No, the sci-fi horror anime
What?
comedy.
What?
I don't know much about that.
It's very
aside from
zany.
like Sky likes it a lot. I think.
Yeah, I haven't read it either, but I look at Science Saru, I look at apparently what Dan 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 is, and I go, that probably peak. What's it called? He's not directing it, but
The studio's doing it.
But if he's in the background, because he made Science Saru, he's gonna offer some opinions that are probably like creative choice, but he's breeding talent, somebody else. And it's also backed by the fact that he prefers or he wants to change Japan animation like practices to where like we should take our time. I think we can make better quality work if we can, have a healthy work-life balance. Dan, we're gonna see, as Science Saru makes more stuff that isn't just him, because we know he makes, good stuff. We will see if this idea can follow through, and we'll also maybe get new talent, which is exciting.
That is.
For
I
sure.
think we can break into a new era. We're
But
due for
anyway,
one.
that was a very quick segue. Well, I don't even remember how we got onto like that topic.
Exploring different
Oh
studios
yeah.
and
What we learned
directors.
in like asking Rob about how he felt from like the story, like
The writing standpoint.
If I-
the writing, right.
As the literary major, I would say Your Lie still trumps this one in terms of the writing, because it was Shakespearean.
Oh yeah, that one is also another thing that I didn't quite pick up, but when you brought it up, oh duh,
Sonnets.
oh my god, they are.
Yeah.
Like she's so totally right.
I mean, it's mostly Western too. The
Yeah.
whole storyline, which is most of my studies would be Western literature, not Eastern. So that's actually a whole.
That's its own thing too.
It is actually Ryan O'Neill was a music major in college, and so he opened my eyes to music theory of Eastern music, which is why J-pop, J-rock, whatever, Korean music all hits a little different, is because they go off of a different time signature and music theory than Western. So it just, even though you call it pop, you call it rock, you call it the same things, it has a slightly different tone that we cannot put our finger on as a Western studier, where I'm like, wait, they do a 5/6 instead of a 5/4? Like, wait, 5/4, that's also really rare. Like, wait, what? So the music theory in its own core is completely different. And I'm like, I got to break into that. But same thing with the writing for animation. I'm like, you've got to balance out understandable language. So I've heard that anime usually keeps its dictionary or diction around like a certain reading level. Do you know what it is? It's like
yes, because of the age of the audience.
Yes,
right, or the age of their target audience.
Yeah, it's usually around like high school.
That's why you have manga that's like in what is it called, katakana?
You have some that's in hiragana and katakana.
Yeah,
and you have some that's furigana.
Yeah, which is the easiest one to read?
Hiragana and katakana
are
the easier ones.
Yeah,
furigana is cool because it has the kanji, but like above it, it's written in katakana or hiragana, so it's easier to read.
Right.
If you think about like the Pokemon games, for example, right, those are all in hiragana, katakana, so that kids can read it.
Right. Yeah.
What's the definition of age groups, like kids and versus teens versus adults?
I mean, I don't know where they
draw the line.
Where they draw the line. Right. Like I think just about like elementary school age is where you have like the easier writing levels, right?
School newspaper or not school newspapers are written at 8th grade English level. So because of that same readability. And I would say anime seems to, with the like dub, seems to be around like senior level, like 12th grade. And then when you start getting to really complex things, they still keep it, they still adhere to that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, and I think only one or two animes that I've watched have gone to that other level. And I think Ghost in the Shell,
that makes sense,
is one that's gone into like collegiate level.
That tracks.
So Your Lie in April actually does very well in the high school realm, but also still being like advanced and like taking it beyond that level. Oran stays in the middle school range.
That makes sense too.
Yep, it does. But that writing I thought was also very good.
Yeah,
because like you have soliloquies and inner dialogue, inner moments. But this one stays in the elementary level in terms of the dialogue, but thematically it is advanced.
Right.
But I would say the writing is only the attention to detail, but it still is elementary.
Yeah.
So I can't say I think it's really high. It's just the themes itself all together make it seem more advanced, but writing style still elementary.
Yeah, I can see that. But from a narrative understanding, it's thinking with more than one brain cell.
Yeah. It's doing the show don't tell.
Yeah. It's more nuanced in its approach.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just maybe just a part of the medium. You know.
This might actually be a good segue into the names of the characters.
Oh yeah, actually, you did research into that. I didn't, so I'm curious about it now. Like, what did you find out?
So I only picked 3 characters that I really wanted to know.
Okay.
Because you could go into a whole world, right?
There's actually a good amount of characters.
Yeah, not too many though, where you're like overwhelmed and have to try and figure out 100 girlfriends, something like that. So Nagomi's name means bring together.
Oh, cool.
Makes sense.
That works,
cool.
right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
Yep.
Shouts to Nagomi.
The other 2 that I chose to research, I did both accent changes that change the name, the meaning of the words. So the intent as a name is usually like the first interpretation, but there's an alternative because an accent change. So Ranko's name, in the normal sense of as a name, means orchid child.
Okay.
What implication does that have? What does it mean to be an orchid child?
In terms of literature, orchids are considered a delicacy, like prized possession. They also bloom only under the strictest conditions.
Ah, I see.
They are like, they have to be pampered and tailored to exact conditions. Otherwise, they do not bloom. They refuse to bloom.
Interesting.
And child too, right? It's funny we see her as child, like when she's pronounced as the 40-year-old maid.
Right.
You know, that's not fair. You're only 37 as of this month.
yeah, exactly.
Then the other definition of her name is hot air.
Hot air? What implication does that have?
I think it's the violence.
Oh, okay. I see.
Could you see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's like, okay, blooms in only certain conditions. Also childlike. Yeah. Because she, in a way, stays a child all the way through her 36 years. Right. Because she absorbs her environment like a child.
Yeah, she does.
Not, I'm astute in my way.
Right.
She absorbs her environment. Right. Why is she strong in her ideals? Because her environment tells her these are your ideals.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I see.
Yeah.
There is another environment where she is not like that. Yeah, it's not in her nature to be a particular way. She was nurtured this way.
She's 100% a nurture versus nature.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
the hot air is where people assume she is violent, unpredictable, angry, fierce, but she's not.
And she didn't know it herself until it happened, that assassin guy episode, that she could even want
to be peaceful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Love it.
Right.
That rocks.
Yeah.
Let me just say that.
Right. Again, that attention to detail. Also, what an unusual name. I've never heard the name Ranko before. Nagomi I've heard before.
Yeah.
But not Ranko. And I was like, this sounds almost like gross. Like Ranko. Ranko. Sounds not pretty or like sweet. And then,
which is what everyone associates with her.
Right.
But she's actually the sweetest.
She is. Shout out to Ranko.
We love her.
So then I looked up her name for Nagi. Nagi's name that she knew her by. Zuko.
Oh, okay.
Uzuko. And what it means, and it's a sweet name, ancient antique.
So that plays into the theme of her like keeping it this way.
The old way.
Right.
How it should always be.
How it should always be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a reverence to old ways.
Absolutely.
In the
There
words
is.
ancient and antique. They're not seen in a negative light ever.
No.
When you say, man, you're so antique, it's like, actually, you're worth
Your value.
a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're extremely valuable.
Yeah.
You're worth more than your form originally.
Right. Correct.
And funny to say that too with maids aging, right?
Yeah.
Still, you're actually more valuable with your history
Right.
and your knowledge, right?
Right.
So very fun with that. And then the alternate meaning of her name, whirlpool.
And she's constantly dragging everybody down with her or into her like ideal, I guess.
And also
Holding people
confusing everybody. They mentioned it towards the end. They're like, she did this one day, and the next day she did this, and the next day she's doing this. Like, we don't know what's going to expect next.
Right.
With her personality, it was like,
It's kind of a chaotic.
they're like,
nature.
you're not going to get out of here. You're not going to get out of there alive. Don't expect to get out of there alive. But they get out of there alive with all their hands and toes and fingers.
Yeah.
And pigtails.
One pigtail.
They keep you on your toes for that. I don't know if you guys felt this way, but I've read online that some people felt this way. There was a brief moment where you're wondering if like Nagomi's like wacky decision to be like, I'm just going to be a maid will turn Nagi as if she has like anything in there. To,
Oh, so she becomes a Zoya?
Yeah. But no. Nagi is not.
No,
that
she's set in
person.
her ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's fun to play with that.
But I thought whirlpool was a great way to describe Nagi.
Yeah.
Way more than crimson supernova, which is supernova if you know by the word of a supernova.
That one's in your face and doesn't want to be subtle about it.
Right.
But that's part of the fun of it is that like, oh, the other characters can be subtle about it.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That rocks.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was like, so there was a lot of research that I actually would say I put into this one because I was like, so everyone who wants to watch this for the first time, I was so lost in the first 2 episodes. Asher was there.
I was there.
He watched
and I was
me
like,
too.
this might just be another miss for Jenny.
Oh.
And you know what? I accept that. I wanted to watch this anime and just see what would happen. It's part of the fun of the show.
I mean, I'm here because I want to throw myself out of my comfort zone all the time with you guys too. And you guys can watch me have my honest journey with these stories.
Right.
Same with Atomic Galaxy. If you had been there for the first watchings, all watch. Not the eyebrow.
Don't worry.
Wipe of straight.
You're not the only person that reacts that way. Like I said, my sister was also just like, you know, like putting her phone down. I can't believe this is happening. And I'm like, yeah.
But with this
Being a
one,
freak about it.
it raised so many questions about what do I not know? What do I not understand?
Right.
That I had to research. And I researched a lot for this one. And it was a really great experience because I got to learn a lot more about, I mean, you know, my Eastern culture with my parents' feelings about Yakuza and gangs and stuff. I mean, I got tattooed when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
I didn't tell my parents until I was in my 30s that I have tattoos.
Right.
And it was only because my siblings, who were in their 50s, were like, Jenny, just get over it. They'll be fine. They're adults. You're an adult. You know, and I'm like, was I not an adult at 18?
But there was like
But there was definitely, there was like all kinds of feelings about it. Like my mom worked at CVS and when it's Eckerd still. So she had like 14 years at a pharmacy. She worked customer service and she was like, every time she always had this tone about like, this person came in with piercings. And I was like, and this person came in with tattoos, and I'm like, I have all the above.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it was, at that time it was a rebellion thing. Now it's actually this is self-expression. You should be very proud of all that.
And that we live in an environment where we can do that.
Yes. And I think it was a coming thing, right? Yeah. And this is kind of us, same with this story actually. It's breaking out of your ideals and going, how do you adapt? Or how do you not adapt? Or how do you retain your ideals and understand the other one. And we see that a lot in Akiba Maid Wars of growth as yourself and maintaining your ideals.
Exactly.
Because she does that, which is what you said, probably one of the most interesting, which I'd still have to explore all the other ones that we've watched to go, do I actually think she's the most interesting?
Right.
But that's...
It really stands out to me. It just... There was something about it when it was all said and done, and that's why I did the Shinji's dad. As I'm like thinking about this series, and I'm just like, this is not common. People don't just like make characters like at the foundation. She did change. We're not going to pretend that she didn't change, but she literally
did not leave this situation unscathed.
Right, exactly.
At all.
Like from a foundational standpoint. That foundation was so strong, and she kept it propped that it was there to the end. And I don't think I would have. It was unexpected for me. I thought that she was ultimately not going to be cut out for it and just die.
Oh, yeah.
I think we
all did. Yeah. I think we all did.
But
many times.
And it's just so fascinating that what is typically an ideal that is so strong in these Yakuza movies and is normally like some sort of ridiculous pride thing, they were just like, she just wants to be a maid and be happy.
She does.
Yeah. That is happy.
And that is happy.
Not to be happy animated, it's just being a maid is
There's
happy.
also something, I think, powerful, even though, I'm not going to get into too much about it, but there is something nice about, it's not really, I guess the viewer can find it quite sad, but I didn't of disabled drama or trauma. Like they
did not paint it that way.
No, they don't.
They make her do this cute little spin.
And I think it
adorable.
And I think
adorable.
And I think that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because I think in a lot of stories it's just doom and gloom.
Yes.
Oh, woe is me. She is but she is happy.
Oh, she's so happy.
I think I also appreciated that it wasn't a case of like, oh, she is 100% fine, like everything's good. Like she took injury from
damage.
it. She took damage from it. You see that, but she's still like holding on to like, this is what I made it.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
At the end, she does not get out of this whole thing unscathed.
Right.
Exactly.
She is not unscathed.
Right.
She's
not going to lie to you for a second.
Exactly.
But she is happy.
She is happy.
I think I don't know.
That's cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It rocks.
Yeah.
It does.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah. And I love tying things back to past animes that we've watched.
Yeah.
And for this show, and like Trigun, it's that
another anime of battle of ideals.
Yes,
it is.
And then not leaving it unscathed, you know.
Yes.
But still sticking to your ideals.
Yep.
We see the same thing with Bash, right?
Yeah.
And not without a lot of pain along the way, a lot of trial.
What an insane comparison. Who would have thought we would be doing?
But I love that because it's a theme that I think if we're studiers of anime, as you said, we have to see the things that make it powerful and how they tell maybe similar stories in different ways. And maybe you'll relate to the idea of, despite all the odds, I maintain my ideals, but I still can grow from those odds and maintain my ideals.
Right.
Yes.
And that is something that people think to maintain your ideals means you stay stagnant. You don't grow at all.
Right.
Oh, you can grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I was not expecting like this when I chose this anime.
no. I don't think any of us were.
Yeah.
I was expecting another Koshai
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Heki,
Like I said,
sake,
and
Yeah.
shoju.
Komehi Haki Shoujo, yes.
And even similar. While I did very clearly enjoy those first two episodes, I couldn't help but shake. Maybe it's just like a joke the entire time, and maybe I'll feel by the end, oh, it rode this joke too long because 12 episodes is kind of long. But then, the developments were such a surprise, and there's so much. I don't know. I got a lot more out of it, and if I'm firing 1,000 shots in the dark and one of them is Akiba Maid War, I'll gladly do that.
I was ready for let's have a not banger, and then we'll come back to Jenny's.
Yeah, sure. Because I think it's a little bit more, at least, obvious to me sometimes with like some of the anime, and the value that I will intend to pull from it is like, Rob or Jenny hasn't seen this. I can't wait to hear their POV. But I've seen it before, and I know it's good.
Right.
So like.
That's how most of my selections have been.
It's more of a like, the value that I get for me is like, okay, what can I get from this as a second time viewer? FLCL is a good example of that.
Right.
Have I changed since the first time I watched FLCL? And so to me, sometimes it's like obvious that I'm going to enjoy this. Akiba Maid War wasn't so obvious, and that kind of makes the surprise of me.
You just enjoy the surprise with us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes it even better, and then it surprised me even more that an anime like this ended up being like, oh, we all enjoyed it.
Yeah. I will say I do love being part of your bucket list, though. Like helping you cross off ones on your list because you have to now.
Yeah, it's great.
It's useful for you. I like the pragmatism, honestly.
We are nearing the end, but I did not forget. Did you want to talk about the manager?
I just want to put on record, manager. She's great. I think she's so funny.
She is very funny.
What?
I think
she is quite funny.
So funny.
But I hilariously think she made one very important decision.
What? Hiring Nagomi?
Oh, you know what? That is another.
She made two very important decisions.
Actually, that's all that matters. She made two very important decisions. The first was hiring Nagomi. And so that kind of, that only resonates even more with her second decision.
Okay.
And that was simply leaving.
What?
Because she fucks up everything she does. She makes everything she does worse. And so in a weird kind of irony, hiring Nagomi, ultimately, for everyone involved, for the old heads at least, made everything worse.
That's true.
That is the ultimate crazy decision.
If she is a servant to them,
yes,
her decision destroyed them.
Exactly. And then the decision to leave, because it probably would have screwed up our final confrontation. So, hilariously, I think those decisions carry a lot of weight for the most stupid character on Earth. But this show is full of like, this character, the dominoes are kind of like far-reaching. Like, oh my god, like the one maid who kills Nagi in the end. Practically no name maid. Like, it's those little things. It's like, and I think her decision to not be.
When was she not there? Sorry.
It's when she walked into the room and said, "I gotta leave."
No, she opened the door.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I think that's literally the last we see of her, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Wait, she's not in the ending scene at all?
I don't
remember her being there.
If she was, she did a very good job of hiding.
Yeah.
I thought she was there.
Was she? I don't remember seeing her there.
I remember they did the cuts. I know that Yumichi and Yanchigao
maybe she was.
Were doing the glow sticks in the front.
They were doing the glow
and then
sticks.
they had a cut to
was she scared and
other character? No, there were other characters crying because they were it's when Nagomi got shot.
Maybe she was there.
I think she was there.
Okay.
Was she in that cut?
I think she was.
I don't remember.
Because I don't remember her not being
I'd have to check.
there.
Yeah,
I did see her do that moment of it was the black pork episode, right?
Yeah.
When she opens the door and then closes it, but they have a growth after that.
Yeah.
And they all decide, this is how we're gonna end.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna this is how we're gonna go about this.
But so maybe I flopped there, but you bringing up that she hired Nagomi and being just like painted the entire time as this ultimate screw up, and her ultimate screw up was actually from episode 1, like makes it even better.
Yeah, she hired Ranko and Nagomi.
Yeah. The ultimate downfall of the entire organization.
The entire system.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is so funny.
Yeah. I thought when you said she left was when they had the festival.
Right.
And then she has that whole "what was me."
Oh, that arc is kind of funny. I mean, like I didn't think it was like, you know, a mind blowing thing, but it was funny.
I thought it was funny. Well, again, this is before
Comes in with a rocket launcher.
this comes in before my thoughts of like the assumptions. But I was like, I thought they're like, "Where's your manager?" And they cut to her, and then I thought they were gonna come running and being like, "No, we do care about you. We do need you." No, that did not happen.
She is never, which is
No. She comes in after everything's done and is like parading.
like a true girl. What is that archetype called? Girl failure?
Yeah.
Like not girl boss, girl failure.
Yeah.
I think my sister made that comment when we were watching the show. She just like, we got halfway through and she was fed up. She was like, why is she such a girl failure?
She is absolutely a mess. And I was hoping to get a little bit of history about like when you like, isn't this your cafe?
Uh-huh.
You know, like, and then have her some sort of joined of like, this is why she even joined this in the first place. Nah, there was none of that.
No.
She has no redemption. No. Nothing about it that you're like, okay, I can back her.
No.
Oh my god. But like I said, tracing it back to the fact that she made those hires is kind of funny. and we don't have a story without that.
Nope.
One could say she's the most important character in the anime.
Ouch.
Oh no.
Ouch.
Oh my goodness. All right. Anything else either of you want to talk about? I really liked this episode. Like I said, for those reasons, like it was a pleasant surprise.
No, I got nothing.
No, shout outs to Sheepon.
Yeah, shout outs to Sheepon.
We love the Gato characters.
Mm-hmm.
They're great.
Yeah, she was fun. I like her episode.
Yeah.
I liked her episode with
Yeah.
her interactions with Ronko.
Yeah.
And that whole thing.
They're great.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, once again, that episode follows to a T the thematic of never like of staying strong to your ideals, even when she visually isn't.
She stuck to him.
She stuck to him, you know, through to the end.
She
So
is
very
like,
cool.
in your face.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I was like, hell yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
honestly, I
very
was
hyped
too.
up.
'Cause I did enjoy their. I mean, I love the militant side of it. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, put him in shape.
Yeah.
Do it. Like success. Oh.
Mhm.
And then at the end, I was like, oh, mutiny. And also, I'm okay with this actually.
Yeah. Man, so cool. Okay, so before we get to our like, where can people find you? Of course, we got our drum roll. What's going on? I'm so curious. What is the next anime we're watching, Jenny?
Oh man. Where are we going?
We are watching Elfen Lied.
Whoa! That's crazy. Really?
Yes, and like I said, Tom already heard me tell him this like before Rob's last one because I told him I just did mine, so it's gonna be a little bit before we get to this. But he said I don't care.
Who you've seen it? Have you seen it?
I did.
I saw it as a child.
So this is the one I have not.
You
seen
just
it.
discovered it existed.
I just discovered it.
We had this conversation, and Paul and I made eye contact because I was like, because Paul knew I had this lined up too. But yeah.
Well, yeah, I just brought it up. And
Yes, I know. I was like, we just talked about this. Like, this is crazy.
Wow.
But yes, you were going to watch Elfen Lied.
How many episodes is it?
It's like 12, 13.
12. It's a good.
Yeah,
nice
it's just
12.
short. It's short.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't wait to tell the people I watched Death Note with, because they're the ones that brought it up.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, and that was surprising to me that you hadn't heard of it, but you've also been surprised at how many things I've never heard of before in my life.
Right.
This one actually surprised me for you because of what I know you know.
Right.
Exactly.
But Elfen Lied is a cult classic when it comes to anime. It's like
Also polarizing, right?
polarizing, highly polarizing,
Yeah.
as cult classics tend to be.
Right. Did you think you were going to watch Elfen Lied?
I did not put that for 2024.
Here we are.
Every once in a while, Elfen Lied is one of those ones where, like, every once in a while, I'm like, should I rewatch Elfen Lied? I'm like, nah, I'm good.
That's how I feel.
Right?
So,
like I said, last time I saw it, I was a child when I saw Elfen Lied. So, like,
when it came out.
You're right, exactly.
Okay,
yeah, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I want to watch this again? Not really.
No, nothing about it invokes me to want to watch it again, other than how much hype it has from its cult following.
Right.
And also, I was in a different mindset at the time. Who knows? Maybe you as a child.
I don't know at this point where I stand on Elfen Lied. Like, I know, I know the following behind it, right? And like, I watched it and I was like, yeah, this is a lot for me at this time.
I honestly, yes.
Yeah. So,
I'm
curious where I land.
I watched it in college due to a recommendation from my friend Goldilocks, because I know you watch our podcast. Goldilocks, he was a b-boy that I used to breakdance with in Gainesville. He was giving a lot of anime recommendations at the time. He actually just came out with his own comic book. He's a black creator, so he was all excited that he's like creating black oriented characters in animation.
Right.
So if you ever want to check out his stuff,
please send it to me.
Yeah,
absolutely. Please send it to me.
So shout out to Goldilocks. TJ is his name. But he recommended Elfen Lied to my friend Justin and I, and we watched it together, the whole thing. He's also the buddy that I rewatched Yu Yu Hakusho with all 4 seasons, and I had never gotten past Dark Tournament until then.
Oh, dang.
So this buddy Justin and I, we watched everything.
Shout out to the black tape.
Yeah.
Wild art.
Probably my favorite villain of all time.
Sensui?
Yeah. In fact, I even get told I'm like Sensui in a lot of ways.
Sensui rules.
Dang, we should rewatch it.
Once again, a battle of ideals. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we have... we watched Elfen Lied together, and we both looked at each other and went, we're never taking another recommendation from TJ.
Dang.
Like, we're never, ever watching anything else.
And yet, here you are.
Here we are. Because I feel like...
Where did it lead you?
Maybe there was
Back
something...
is what TJ is saying right now.
Black Streetwear fate.
Exactly. And where did it bring you?
He's
back
our
to me?
Ozo? Or
That's wild. I love that. And I love your willingness to come back to it.
I'm going to give it another try. I don't really remember anything other than going, this is ridiculous. Like, or what am I missing? I feel like I'm missing something huge here.
I'm excited.
But I don't know, maybe there is nothing.
Yeah.
You know, there are things that are stories about nothing, right?
There are. It's called Seinfeld.
Yeah. Literally, yes. So I am curious to see how this next rewatch will go. I'd love to see all of our perspectives on it because of this reason exactly. I watched it later on. Since then, there's been things I've rewatched and it still stands.
Right.
You are going to watch him since childhood, and you are a new rewatch.
You're rolling the dice here. Yeah.
So
I like it.
I like it too.
I think it's so funny that you brought it up. Then I was like, I looked at Paul like,
Does he know?
I really
I was like,
wasn't expecting it. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I have. Yeah, I might even have my buddy rewatch it and maybe do a clip with him or a little clip that we can share on JSB Animecast. So us talking about it, rewatching it again, going, yo, remember the first time we watched it? We were like,
Is it on Crunchyroll or do we know?
I don't know where it's on.
We're not sure.
Honestly.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Might have to dig a little bit.
We will have to dig.
Okay.
Might be another Tatami Galaxy situation.
It might be.
That's fine.
Well, unfortunately, it's not anything like Grave of Fireflies, unfortunately. Like where that's completely unavailable digitally.
Right.
I'm so sad when I could not watch that. So I'll have to find it and buy a copy of it or something.
I think Brandon has a copy of it, so if you need it.
Yes. I will take him up on that.
Him. All right. Where can goons find you, Rob?
You can find me on Twitter at Zenosuke, ZNOSUKE. You can find me there. I don't do much there, so yeah.
Is the Gamescast coming back? Standing emoji.
Yes.
Or I guess obviously we brought it up last time.
Yeah.
You have a date for it now.
Yeah.
Or not yet.
No date for it yet. I'm still waiting on people to get things so we can get started.
Sure.
That is not a subtweet, but it's also a subtweet.
Not the subtweet.
Get your shit together.
Hey! He said, "Get your shit together."
So, sometime this month, I'll let everybody know when.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yep.
Very excited. What about you, Jenny?
You can actually find me here at Nakama bartending starting on Monday at tomorrow, technically, from 12 to 6. And then I also might be bartending at some future events coming up this month. Other than that, you can also find us all at Bold Matsuri
Right.
at the end of this month, towards the end of this month. So June 23rd. We have a panel at 4 p.m. to 4:45. We're going to go review Sunday School. So more details coming out about that, but you'll definitely find us there.
Right.
And the reason I'm actually wearing my company's gear right now is because we'll actually be sponsoring a swag bag. So if you guys come to our panel, you'll be able to pick up a swag bag of some JSB stuff, plus some of my company stuff.
You'll have so much swagger.
So much swagger. You're going to have our faces literally on a drawstring bag.
Yeah. And there's nothing more swagified than that.
Facts.
Anyway.
And other than that, also, Leaderboard 2 has officially opened.
Yes!
So Leaderboard 2
Let's go!
over on Shad Road right off of Phillips just had their grand opening on a Friday, this past Friday. So you can find me also bartending there on Sundays.
Let's go!
Yeah. So yeah, hang out with me for 2 weird days of the week.
Perfect. And then for me, I don't remember if I did this last episode. Did I bring up the Charity Clash last episode? I don't remember.
I don't think you did.
Oh, shoot.
Because you hadn't solidified the date yet.
I didn't solidify the date yet. So July 6th, Charity Clash is coming back. Those of you who follow my stream know that it's something that I do with Pixel Hearts. Shout out to Pixel Heart.
Pickle Heart.
Oh, hell yeah. We have a new meme on our hand.
Yeah,
Pickle Hearts. I'm about to click this. Which I now that I am, recounting my thoughts of Pixel Hearts, she does have a bone to pick with us because the first time I watched Oron was with her. She was the one who put me onto Oron, but she did have a bone to pick with the us calling the Alice in Wonderland episode a filler.
Really?
Yeah. She was like,
it because
how
the way it
dare
ended?
you? Yeah, because
that's all fillers.
It's because that ending sequence and the whole interaction with her mom and all that stuff.
Yeah, but you glean that from other things too. So it's it's all the previous 20 minutes and then the last 3 minutes worth the 20 minutes of filler.
I brought the piece to the table, Steph. I did my best.
I'll see you in Dead by Daylight.
Oh no. I will also be there at Dead by Daylight.
Let's go. We stick to our ideals.
That's right. Maids. Maids, line up. We're all in maid costumes when we're playing Dead by Daylight. Oh my gosh. So yeah, know that I tried, but it'll. I don't have a charity locked in that we're going to be playing for yet, but it will be Dead by Daylight. Us versus them. Whoever loses has to give the other person's charity money. It's for a fun cause. It's a fun cause. I don't know about if it's a fun cause. It's for a good cause. And it'll be a lot of fun. You'll probably see some wacky antics because anything with me and Steph typically involves wacky antics. That's just how it is. And if you like the wacky antics with this crew of people, they're all going to be there too. And you'll see a couple of other familiar faces. Phil, he's a hoot and a half. Too Funky, also a hoot and a half.
Oh, yes.
Try to think. Stack of Bears might be there.
Oh.
For those who follow the famous speedrunner of Garshasp, Stacky McBears.
I love that man.
Yeah, me too. One of the funniest guys I've ever met. So he might be there. I haven't fully verified. But yeah, follow me on Instagram to keep up with that. On Twitter, Pinot Grigio, TTB. And yeah, you could see me here. I say this every time. Try to blog more. I'm processing the thoughts of doing a vlog. Just talking stuff out.
Yeah.
Just occasionally for the Patreon. But we'll see how I feel. That's a very loose. I'm just gonna plant the seeds real quick and see if y'all bite.
I kind of want to do something similar now that I'll have some more time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In normal human hours.
Oh God, yes.
There's something nice about that.
Yeah.
And then you probably heard it on the like commercial break. Commercial break. But
I do put ads.
You know, at the very tail end, special thanks to Nakama for letting us film here this week.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anything else? Any parting words of wisdom?
No.
No, I gave all my wisdom earlier.
All right.
I'm out. I'm wisdomed out.
All right. No more wisdom. So do with that as you will. It won't help you because it's not wise.
We talk about Orwell. Come on now. That's like a deep cut.
Right.
We talked about metamorphosis.
We talked about Kafka.
Read Metamorphosis.
Oh, they didn't hear that part. That was when we were jamming.
Oh my god, yeah. Maybe we don't know about that part.
Subscribe to Patreon so that you can hear the metamorphosis part.
Yeah. Read Metamorphosis.
Which
read Animal
metamorphosis? Farm. Who knows?
Study Stern Moon's Wrong. Watch some Yakuza films. And go enjoy our podcast at a maid cafe. All right. Bye-bye.
Wahoo!
Bye-bye.
Wahoo!
Not the wahoos.
That's what we do.
It's what we do now.